What's up, Fantasy Champions? Spotlight Sports Network is excited to tell you about an amazing deal from Thrive Fantasy, your place for daily fantasy sports and esports. Right now, with promo code SS Network, Thrive Fantasy will match up to $50 of your first deposit. So go to thrivefantasy.com and sign up now with promo code SS Network. That's thrivefantasy.com, promo code SS Network.
But I know that's just in my mind. I know everything is just in my mind. Do you really want to be famous? Do you really want to be a superstar? Do you really want to get dangerous? Do you even know where the groupies are? Bitches out here be...
Welcome to Hammer's House.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Take Two Baseball Podcast. So myself, and joining me shortly will be my partner in crime, Jake the Snake Silva. Hope you guys are doing well on this Wednesday night. Tonight, we're going to break down division by division, every single team, and give you guys an idea of our predictions of our contenders and pretenders going into this 2021 MLB season. For those that are just coming in, welcome. Make sure to like, follow, and smash the hell out of the bell on your boys' channel. And that's Hammer's House. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitch. You know what it's all about. So, some breaking news tonight as we are upon the eve of the start of the new Major League Baseball regular season. The Washington Nationals have had 4 players test positive. Per reports in the New York Post, let me pull it up real quickly. General Manager Mike Rizzo revealed Wednesday that 1 player tested positive for COVID-19, while 4 other players are among the 5 people who have been quarantined after contact tracing. The 5 players whose identities were not disclosed will miss Thursday's opener in Washington versus New York Mets. The other close contact is a staff member, none of the affected. Per Rizzo, we're still in the process of finding out what exactly their status is. They're certainly out for tomorrow's game. So kind of a bad look to start this season, as nobody was reported testing positive all during spring training, thank God. But there was a charter flight that they took from their spring training facility back to DC, where they're supposed to start tomorrow. And apparently that was the only interactions that have been going on was amongst the teams. So as of right now, those guys are most certainly out. And again, they're not releasing the name. So who knows? We might probably figure it out once they reveal the opening day lineup tomorrow. I'm kind of surprised, but you know what? I hope these guys get better quickly and we can start baseball as soon as possible. Moving on, we go into, what time is it right now? 8:20 on the East Coast. So we are 3 hours and 41 minutes from the deadline that Francisco Lindor issued to the New York Mets in regards to a potential contract extension. Once midnight passes, he will not be talking about extensions. The extension will not be happening until the end of the season, which sucks because God only knows how he performs this coming season. His market value might go up higher than what he originally wanted and what the Mets offered. The Mets were said to have given a final offer to Lindor for a 10-year, $325 million deal. Francisco Lindor is looking along the lines of a 12-year, $385 million contract. This would be Steve Cohen's first major splash as the new owner of the New York Mets. He made a great trade bringing Carlos Carrasco and Francisco Lindor to the Mets alongside signing other guys and making other trades during the offseason. But signing him to an extension would be the biggest splash so far. I think ballpark-wise, let's meet in the middle. 11 years, 360, 365. Now, his new teammate, he's been with for about a month, Pete Alonso, has stated that pay Lindor $400 million. So obviously Alonso wants him as a teammate for the long term, but we have yet to hear anything else. As of right now, the contract talks are at a stalemate. So we have to wait and see how this plays out. I'm extremely nervous, as you guys can see from the backdrop. You can see from my hat, shirt, not so much. Diehard Met fan here. So I'm really hoping this deal pulls through. I mentioned before in regards to a deal like this happening, back in 1998, the Mets traded for Mike Piazza from the then Florida Marlins, and he got an extension after the season. That was in October of 98. He ended up getting, I believe it was an 8-year, $91 million deal. So I was looking along, maybe that can happen. Obviously, the market's different now, so he's getting a hell of a lot more, obviously. But I feel what his production could potentially be this year, both offensively and defensively, we're looking at probably $400 million or more if he doesn't sign this deal tonight, and he could end up going elsewhere. There's plenty of other shortstops that are going to be out there this coming offseason, but Lindor is one of the premier, if not the best shortstop in the league right now. I put him probably Tatis, Lindor, Correa, Baez, so on and so forth. So, like I said, I'm still waiting for my boy Jake to get in here. He was running a little late, and I have another guest that's supposed to be jumping on tonight as well. I'm also waiting for him. So let's see if there's any other Major League news right now. Do you really feel we get it done tonight, though? The clock is ticking, and I'm getting more and more nervous as this goes on right now. I've been checking Mets news and constantly trying to update my phone and see what's going on. And right now, there's still a stalemate. So this is very interesting to see. But the thing is, we have to look at it with when free agency started, the type of guys that we could have went after. We had Trevor Bauer. We had George Springer. Apparently, there were offers made, but I guess it wasn't what they wanted, and they walked. And who's to say that Lindor will not do the same exact thing? Oh man, this thing is just driving me insane right now. Let's look into other MLB news right now at the moment. There's really not much else besides this whole thing with the Nats missing 4 or 5 players right now with this whole COVID thing. Oh, 4 hours ago, George Springer is on the injured list. I'm sorry, I know it's not funny, but looks like we dodged another one. Let's see what this injury is. This is per the MLB Network. The Blue Jays will be without star outfielder George Springer when they open the season in New York against the Yankees on Thursday. Manager Charlie Montoyo announced that Springer is headed to the 10-day IL with a grade 2 left oblique strain he's been dealing with late in camp. Springer first underwent an MRI on his oblique after dealing with some inflammation in the area and was diagnosed with the strain on March 23rd. This past Monday, Springer had a follow-up MRI that showed improvements, Montoyo said, but the Blue Jays aren't taking any risks after Springer, signed his 6-year, $150 million contract this past offseason. So there's a little bit of a hit for the Blue Jays to start the season. And I know Voit is also out for the Yankees as he has a torn meniscus. The bad luck and injury bug keeps piling up for those Yankees, but we'll see how that pans out for them this year. We want to compete with the other New York team and the big dogs. We got to open the bank. You're absolutely right. And he's the guy that has the money. There were reports out there for quite some time that The only reason that he got this deal was apparently he told other owners that his first year of ownership that he would not break the luxury tax, and he has yet to do so. That was his little promise in year one. I still think we need to sign Lindor ASAP. At least your team isn't injury prone like my Yankees. No, we just need to learn how to spend. That's what we got rid of the Wilpons, and got new ownership out of Steve Cohen. But if he doesn't make this deal tonight, I'm telling you now, the fan base is going to eviscerate him. He talked about change. He has this plan of the Mets getting to the World Series. I think it was like a 3-year plan. The time is now. You traded for him. You traded for Carrasco. You made other deals in the offseason to build this team up. You need to have Lindor for the long run. 27 years old, in my opinion, is still young. You put him on a 10, 11-year deal, he'll have his whole career in New York. Put in a no-trade clause. Put in opt-out clauses. If you do an 11-year deal, do an opt-out after year 3, after year 6, after year 9. It works. The money will work. Do not backload that contract, because you're not going to know what he's going to be doing down the road when he's 36, 37, 38. Like I I'm not a GM, but I swear at times I think the Mets should listen to me. I might have to call into ESPN radio tomorrow morning about this as well if nothing happens, because it's getting out of control. And the clock is ticking, man. I cannot wait for this season to start. We're finally getting a full season. I know there's going to be a limited amount of fans. Definitely going to try my best to get into Citi Field as much as possible, God willing. But we're going to go into the division-by-division breakdown unless I can get a hold of my boy Jake right now. Let's find out where the hell he's at. Still waiting to hear back from him, so we're going to go into it momentarily, division by division. And we'll start with the National League East. As of right now, the Braves are supposedly the team that's going to win the NL East. I don't see that. Obviously, I'm being biased, but who cares? What up, Key? Oh, wow. Okay. A lot of people are predicting the Braves right now to win the NL East. I don't see that. Yes, call me biased. It is what it is, but I truly believe if the Mets do right, if they play right, if these guys can stay healthy for an entire season, I'm looking at them to potentially be a 90-plus game win team this year. I think the Braves might come in second, slightly behind them. And then the rest, the bottom of the barrel, Washington, the Filthies, and the Miami Marlins. But as of right now, this is what we're looking at for the projected lineup for the New York Mets. You got Brandon Nimmo leading off, Francisco Lindor, Michael Conforto, Pete Alonso, Dominic Smith, who's probably going to be playing a lot of outfield right now, Jeff McNeil, who could pretty much play anywhere, J.D. Davis, and James McCann would be your projected lineup, with the starting rotation as of right now being Jacob deGrom, Marcus Stroman, David Peterson, Taijuan Walker, Joey Lucchesi. There's still other guys. You have Carrasco and Syndergaard on the IL. Syndergaard, Thor is expected to be back by late June, either just before the All-Star break or after the All-Star break. And Carrasco is still dealing with that torn hamstring, which that thing is no joke. So let the man rest up as much as possible, and we get him back out there as quickly as possible. I definitely wish him a speedy recovery and can't wait for him to don the Mets uniform and do well for us. No idea where he's at. Spotlight. No clue where he's at. I'm texting him. I'm getting nothing. So right now, it seems like it's a one-man show for the time being, and just try to bear with me because I'm not good at that, but whatever. With the Atlanta Braves, we have, and I know we one of our first episodes, we broke down the Atlanta Braves for you guys. Projected right now, they're projected to be an 87-75 team, which would put them in second place in the NL East. Projected lineup is Ronald Acuna. Looks like Albies is on the IL as of right now, so he's day-to-day right now with a neck injury, so that might be a little strange for them. Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, Travis d'Arnaud, Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, Christian Pache. With the projected starters, you have Max Fried, Charlie Morton, Ian Anderson, Drew Smyly, Kyle Wright. Mike Soroka is currently on the 10-day IL with an Achilles injury. So that goes another team that we might not have to worry about too much, but again, it's still early. The Washington Nationals projected 85-77 team, which I could potentially see that happening. And again, we just broke news to you guys that 5 of their players are currently out of tomorrow's opening day game. More or less COVID protocol is the best way. They said 1 tested positive, but the others have to be quarantined. You got Victor Robles, who is currently out. He's day-to-day with a back injury. Trey Turner, Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Kyle Schwarber, Starlin Castro, he's got a hamstring injury. He is out. Yan Gomez, Josh Harrison. Projected rotation, you got Max Scherzer, of course, Patrick Corbin, Steven Strasburg, who is currently sidelined with a calf injury. John Lester, he's injured with an upper body injury. And Joe Ross. So these guys are all already going into the season a little banged up. And then you have these guys that are going to be out as well. Not a good look for them. Taco, I'm waiting for you to come in. So let's go, bro. Next, Philadelphia Phillies. Projected lineup. Projected standings. You're looking at them at 82-80, just slightly over 500. They're going to potentially be 4th in division. Projected lineup: Andrew McCutchen, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, Alec Boehm, Didi Gregorius, Jean Segura, Adam Hazley. Projected starters: Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Zach Elfin, Matt Moore, Chase Anderson, and potential 6, Vincent Velasquez. Right now, there's nothing on their injury. None of these guys are injured right now. Go figure. Like I said, Nationals right now are seriously banged up. And that leaves us to the potentially last place Miami Marlins. Projected 70-92. You got the projected lineup of Corey Dickerson, Starling Marte, Jesus Aguilar, Adam Duvall, Brian Anderson, Miguel Rojas, Jazz Chisholm, Jorge Alfaro. For the projected starters, you got Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Alistair Hernandez, Trevor Rogers, Sixto Sanchez. So that is your NL East projections with the standings and projected lineups for the teams in the NL East. Oh, hold on one second. Let me give them a formal intro first.
Do you like the Oakland A's? Are you a fan of the Golden Knights? Do you love the Los Angeles Chargers? Well then, my friend, you're in the right place. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show with your host, Jake the Snake Silva, brought to you by the Spotlight Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, stepping into the house, stepping into Hammer's house, Jake the Snake Silva. Fuck is up, bro? Uh-oh. Don't hear him.
There you go. Unmuted me. Now you can hear me.
There he is.
Yep. Got a new haircut.
Here we go.
New me and everything else. I'm just glad to be up on here and everything else as well. Finally took my boy out for It's a fun time up at the park, but we're finally back and we're ready to talk some baseball, guys. And we've already covered the NL East, as of course my good friend Hammer, as well as ended up letting you guys know just kind of best predictions and stuff like that on the NL East. He's still saying no sound.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I was just like, huh. Okay, there we go. Freaking Pat. That's funny as all hell. Oh God, Pat, get the hell out of here with that.
Oh my God. And it begins, folks.
And so it does. Now here comes all the roasting.
We ripped into him on what was that, Monday night. It was pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, it was Monday night. It's always a fun time. But yeah, so yeah, I really am liking the predictions in the NL East. Obviously the Marlins are going to be the Marlins. I mean, they're already in complete rebuild mode. There's no doubt about that. But throughout, the rest of the NL East, because I just see the Marlins starting there up at the bottom, rebuilding. They've already just gotten rid of a lot of real good players that I thought could really build up their potentials, and they still have some younger stars, Brian Anderson and so many others. And right now, it's just a complete change for them. So I see Miami there up at the bottom. In fourth, honestly, I feel like the Phillies are going to break fourth. The only thing is because it ain't about their lineup. Their lineup will be productive at times, but what's really going to kill them and be crucial is that pitching staff. Because if their starting rotation outside of Zach Wheeler, outside of Aaron Nola, who do you really trust on from the bottom half of 3 and 5? And that's the one thing you really have to look at deeply. And not to mention, the other part is the bullpen. The bullpen is not looking as strong. So any time that, they put up the much needed runs and RBIs, they're going to have crucial spots where they could not afford to give up hittable pitches. So that's one that the pitching staff really has to get control of. So I see the Philadelphia Phillies finishing up at fourth. I don't see them as a playoff contender yet. I just think that they still need some work. They still need some work if they really want to be serious and taking it to the next level to getting into the postseason. I see we got TDS Taco right up there with us, ready to roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time is here for the homie from the Daily Sporting, Freeport's own, the talented Dirty Taco, coming into the building.
Oh, and I see him.
Boy!
What's going on, man?
The New York Yankees are officially in the house.
God help us all.
I love the Yankee flag in the background, but
you gotta love this right here.
Yeah, I love the Jeter, and I love the roof. But yeah, I remember a couple episodes back, I was hearing you guys talk about the Rays having the AL East over the Yankees. Is saying it ain't so?
I listen. It's a possibility, man. Listen, I don't know what they've got going on in the Bronx. Whatever the hell that injury plague bug. Now Luke Voigt is freaking hurt.
Yes.
Are you?
Absolutely. I agree with you. There's some sort of curse. But here's the strangest thing about us. We can have all the injuries in the world, and some random dude that just got picked for like nothing will be Luke Voigt. Will be Clint Frazier coming back around, with Mike Talkman. It's just the list goes on and on with us finding these replacement players. Yeah, and now we have Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce,
and now you have Jay Bruce. Yeah, but I mean, Jay Bruce has been around in this league for a long time, so it's just
Oh, let's go! Let's go!
Just had to do with himself.
So go ahead.
I heard you were talking about the Phillies, right?
I had talked about the Phillies. I just see them finishing up fourth. I just don't think they are as serious as a team to really make in the postseason because, look, I love their lineup, but the pitching staff, I need more. The one team I do finishing third that may push for a postseason berth may be the Washington Nationals. The pitching staff is still good. Now, there's a few changes. Now, we may see a breakout season from Juan Soto this year. I mean, the kid's ridiculous. You cannot pitch around this kid. and anywhere that you throw breaking ball, fastballs, anywhere, he's just going to hit them out of the park, or they're line drives, opposite field, wherever. But I'm hoping to see good production out of Trey Turner on top of it, because you need to have your on-base guy. Outside of that, this will be an interesting year for Kyle Schwarber. I don't know how he's really going to produce with this team.
I think with Trey Turner, though, they're going to be hitting him more in the 3-hole ahead of Soto as a run producer because of his huge outbreak last year with his power. And they really see him as being more of a middle of the lineup guy. And I think one guy to watch out there is Josh Bell, who's been absolutely insane during the spring. And that's a nice little core that they have between Soto, Turner, Bell, and they still have Castro, who's like a stall, a solid, get on the base, keep the ducks on the pond type of guy.
And funny thing of it is, Ryan Zimmerman in 23 games in the spring has already hit 6 homers. Like if you, I mean, it's not much to talk about, but if you think about it, if the production like that on 162 games a season, you're talking about a veteran who's been around with this team for a long time, finally wins a championship. He's the leader. And that's the one thing that I look at it. That's the production you're going to want from him, either 4 or 5 hole.
I think the biggest question, though, for them is going to be that bullpen, because their starting rotation, I think, is elite.
Yes.
But can they get the consistent innings on the back end after these starters come out to hold the fort? Because if their bullpen's good, they're scary in a 7-game series. Same thing with the Mets. Like, I don't love the Mets team, but I do love that starting rotation when it's healthy.
So do I.
Yeah. And they're going to be scary, because if you can go, let's just say DeGrom, then you're going Noah, and then depending on what you get out of a guy like, Stroman, I think that could be a really 1, 2, 3, interesting punch.
And with Carlos Carrasco and a bunch of guys that are really coming up. Well, remember, he is coming off of treatment and everything else. And with now him kind of getting that fresh feel, now in new threads, I think this will be a really good year for him.
So now he's going to be out to start the season. So you have to wonder about his conditioning. Will he be able to get enough innings and work in before he comes in to get a feel for his pitches? So that's what worries me a little about Carrasco, just because he's been on the shelf now for the last couple of years, because when he pitches, he's elite. But is he going to be able to stay healthy, especially not putting the wear and tear in that consistent, work out there? Can he handle it?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
So I don't know if you guys heard about the news within the last few hours or so about the Washington Nationals and the COVID crisis that they have. We're less than 24 hours away from opening day, and they are going to be without a couple of players, and those guys have yet to be named. So what do you think about that right now going into this? Because spring training, we haven't heard a single report about any players tracing it, having it, anything. Now all of a sudden this bomb drops this evening. What do you guys think?
I just feel like that because you've already agreed to 162 games. The show's going to go on. Okay, that you've seen the NFL do this before. Now they had some hiccups between that Pittsburgh and Baltimore game. That was all just a hiccup from there. But the show still kept going on. My only thing of this is that they're going to do whatever it takes to really just manhandle this the best way possible for them. But I just don't think it's going to take any hits whatsoever into the season, because we've already seen this from the other 3 major sports. However, they had to reschedule things, however they had to really adjust to it. So to me, I just feel like, look, for instance, in hockey with the Dallas Stars. They got hit with this, I believe, with 6 games before they could even start the season. And they're already kind of pushing for urgency. So if this is kind of a case that the Nationals are going to have to deal with in the baseball season, where they're going to have to take like a step back from their season for a little bit until everybody is cleared and they're ready to play, I feel like that may be an outcome. But to me, they're going to figure this out one way or the other.
Yeah, and even if you look at last year, Baltimore had it, the Marlins had it, and they even went to the point where they didn't even make up some of those games. Like, literally, the train is moving, and if you're not on board, you better catch up as soon as possible. I think the one good thing for the Nationals is that at least Max Scherzer so far wasn't included in that, because he is still slated to start tomorrow's game. So we're pretty sure that he's not going to be affected. They just gotta hope that it's not Soto and that Soto is gonna be able to at least play.
Right.
Other than that, I think you just kind of ride it out. They're lucky that spring just went on, so getting a replacement isn't as hard as during the season when you don't have quite a look at the same players. So I think for them, it's better that it happens early. And the biggest question is going to be, what is MLB going to do with the vaccine? Because now that they're starting to loosen the eligibilities around, are they going to be able to get a big purchase where they can go out and buy what they need in order to make sure maybe for the playoffs, what they do is they make sure to get all those players get vaccinated, so they don't mess that up. But I think that's going to be what they're going to have to figure out is how can they get those needles in those arms just to make sure that everything is safe and keep it going. I know that in the NBA, Adam Silva was talking about that. Come playoff time, he wants to have as many players that he can vaccinated because it prevents it. Because, like you said, some of it's just through contact tracing, so they may not even have it. It's just a close proximity thing, and that makes it sticky.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. But
yo,
when was the last time the Yankees played bad? I'm just wondering because even when we're all hurt, when we're all messed up, we're still there. When we don't have Stanton and Judge, we're still there. So we don't give excuses; we give results.
Oh man!
All right, let me hear the rest of your guys' predictions for this division.
So the rest of my picks after I said the Marlins, Phillies, Nationals. I really feel like this could be either a 1 or a 2 game edge for first and second to me. But I know you're going to hate me for this, Hammer, but I do see the Mets going second. However, as I said, because of the 1-2 game edge, the Mets could pull off to where they can end up winning the division. But it's crucial for the amount of at least maybe 20, 25 games left of the season. However, they're going to end up doing this. But I love the rotation. I also really do love this lineup. And Francisco Lindor, can we get a deal done? Okay, like
show him the money.
Look at this. The Dodgers were not scared once they got Mookie Betts, they gave him a contract.
Yep.
And right now, Lindor's been looking great with his swing with the Mets. He looks like he's having fun.
Yep.
Give him a contract, Cohen. That's what he needs. And what I like about it is yeah, exactly. That's why I'm just like, it's worth the money you put out there because honestly, I know a lot of people ran rave about the Fernando Tatis deal, but if you make it well enough to where money speaks and at the same time the negotiations are great. We talked about this off the air, having the opt-outs between year 3, year 6, and year 9. That way then it gives him the comfortability and it gives him a little bit of some leverage to kind of look back at it. However, that the performance goes for the team.
Just don't backload that contract.
Yeah, don't backload. Yeah, don't backload this contract.
From what I heard, it's going to be a straight up deal. Where there's like really no deferred money like in some of the other deals. I think Tatis's deal is very backloaded on that one.
Oh my God, it's a heavy infield. You're almost talking about like close to $1 billion on an infield.
I think the left side alone was like $500 million alone.
But when you think about all the money though, now it's starting to come in from the baseball revenues. I think the Angels just did a deal with Fox for like $1 billion for their TV rights the season before. And with the way they're doing the streaming and stuff, I think that money is going to come into baseball where the Padres are smart. Last year with what they did with Lindor, it captured a lot of attention and brought a lot of eyes to San Diego. So even if the fact of, and this is the same thing I would say with the Bauer and the same thing I say with Lindor, even if their on-field production isn't so great, their production value on, billboards, on radio commercials, selling jerseys is significant because Lindor is already one of the best-selling Mets jerseys. They have 3 top 20 guys, and Lindor might be the number 1 guy that they have. And when you think about that ability and then to bring the fans in and get people talking about the team, that's worth the money that you're paying. So you're not just paying for a player, you're paying for a face of the franchise. And that's why I don't think, especially after you make that trade, give him what he wants. If he wants that much money, you know what? You've showed enough. We can afford it. I have $1 billion, the richest owner in baseball. Yep. I heard nothing but Mets fans talking about we're gonna have everybody. Well, keep the guy that you have.
Whoa. You heard every Met fan say that because I sure as hell didn't.
Met fan.
That's a lie.
I want
Springer, I didn't say that.
I want Bauer.
Now here's what's funny about this when I look at the Lindor situation is because You know, it's funny. Did you ever feel like this when it came to Curtis Granderson? The second he moved from Detroit and he goes to New York, didn't he just feel like New York? It's like Lindor to me, since he left Cleveland, he feels like New York. He just looks and feel. Yeah.
DJ LeMahieu just fits so perfectly because they signed him as a backup guy. And next thing you know, this guy's an MVP starting irreplaceable guy because he just fits with the culture. His swing fits with the stadium. It's just match made in heaven, just like Lindor with the Mets.
And what's funny about that is, and you're talking about LeMahieu, who came out of a Cubs and Colorado organization, that the Rockies, unfortunately, I mean, Trevor Story's their last lone superstar there. And outside, he'll be gone by then. Yep. And that's where I'm just like, after Arenado.
Blackman's still there.
Yeah, but Blackman, I mean, you think about it, you're still going to get decent numbers, but for how long of that are you going to get?
Oh, yeah. He's on his downside.
Yeah, he's on the downside. So that's what I'm saying with it. I mean, if you do this, that's why I'm like, Colorado was the type of organization like that. Detroit was on the bits and ends until they started to get competitive. And then you had Cleveland that now we seemed like they were getting competitive, and now they're just kind of back into this middle of the pack thing. But
one thing that Cleveland always has, though, I feel like they always have a good minor league pitching rotation.
They really
where they're literally, they'll get rid of one guy and another guy comes up. Like once they got rid of Kluber, Bieber became Cy Young material. Now they got rid of Bauer, and you got a couple of guys over there that are interesting, a couple of good prospects. So I think that their rotation is going to be interesting, but I do agree they did take a step back. But you got to see if they're going to spend next year because their payroll is like nothing now.
And you know what's going to interest me is the production level, because now the one superstar you are hoping, Ramirez. And I said this, he's my sleeper of MVP, is Jose Ramirez.
Oh, man, I don't even know if he can be a sleeper anymore. He was top 2 last year.
No, and see, that was the thing. He at least sleeper candidate for MVP. And at that point, like, I feel like he can put up the numbers. Yeah. So if you're going to expect numbers out of him to be productive, that's one guy you got to rely on for that team to get going. So, but
Bieber to pitch like a Cy Young again.
Yeah,
Bieber
absolutely.
fever.
But for me, I honestly do have the Mets finishing second because of the fact that it's such a close edge. But I could see them potentially, winning the division at first place, depending on the game's edge. And then the top team that I have is the Atlanta Braves. Look, you could say what you want to about it, but I'm getting a healthy Mike Soroka back. Max Fried, I think, has really shown a lot of his real good stuff. They do have some good pitching arms, and even Ian Anderson, I think, is a real good potential as well. But what I am going to like about this is the lineup. Christian Pache now is going to be the young kid that's coming into here. I am hoping to see something better out of Austin Riley this year. And for Ronald Acuna Jr., you're going to expect a huge bounce back from him. I know it was a short season from him, but it seemed like there was some sort of change. But I watched this spring. He looked great. And I think he's ready to just have this season start and get this over with, because I think there's a little bit of like that chip on their shoulder for Atlanta, that they want to be back in the NLCS. They want to compete for the World Series, because after that toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, they're like, no, job's not done yet. We're just only getting started from here. And now with these young kids like Pache and one other one, I believe it was Waters. Yeah, he's going to be another kid that's going to be fun to watch when he makes it into the big leagues.
And I feel like guys like Osuna and Swanson are going under the radar, because Swanson's been putting up 2020 seasons, good defense, great on base. And Osuna last year really came out. He
could you believe the price for him? Could you believe the price?
No,
I was
they
like,
had to do it.
There is no way. Like, I was like, that is such a club-friendly deal. That's really what it looked like.
The Braves to me are one of the teams that have the stable veterans and the young farm system ready at the right time. Like at the trade deadline, they need to make a move. They have all the prospects necessary to make the move to get the arm or the bat or the closer that they need. Plus, they kind of have, they improved in the bullpen. They weren't terrible at it, but I think that's their biggest deficiency. And I think that, come deadline time, a guy like Hader, on a team like the Brewers that's always shopping him, and they have a deep bullpen now, I think that these two teams I could see making a deal, and that makes the Braves scary.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's where it'll make the NL East much more competitive. But like I said, I mean, it's going to be toe-to-toe matchup. Hammer and I talked about this. It's going to be Braves Mets because the Phillies, they just don't have a pitching rotation. They'll have the lineup, but you just don't have the guys really to like outside of Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler.
I think
they're not going to have guys for location.
Spencer, what is it, Howard or whatever, the top pitching prospect that they have in the system, they're going to need for when he comes up to be an ace type. And that's going to be, I think, their last, real big play is that they do have a primetime pitching prospect in the minors who, if he comes up, and their lineup's going to rake. Like Megan will say about it, Alec Braum is a hitter. And he's going to
look, they are lucky. They are lucky enough that they were able to sign JT Realmuto to a long-term deal.
And they got Didi back. You have Bryce Harper still. So I think that's a lineup that you can't underrate. But I think the Nationals are the ultimate sleeper because with that pitching staff, they can go on such rolls. And they're hitting like we talked about with Soto and Turner, plus the other pieces around them. I think they're really being left out of the conversation. I think they can be in that 1-2-3 mix. And potentially I think all three can make the wild card. It's a stacked division.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a stacked division. But that's my predictions from there. Miami finishes last. Philly, I think, finishes up on that fourth spot unless they prove me wrong. Washington in number 3, the Mets at 2, and then the Braves at 1. Now that could flip flop at any point. But I like how competitive that this NL East division really has become.
And how crazy is it that the Marlins last year went to the playoffs?
It was a short season. Like anything could. Oh God!
Every blind squirrel finds a nut. That is the best way.
I mean, right. That was honestly the best way to look at it. If you want
they were fun
going
to the
playoffs.
The Cubs and Marlins games were fun. They were fun games.
And you know what's funny? And there's one arm I left out for the Mets is Jordan Yamamoto. I could not believe the Marlins just went up and they were just like, "Yeah, here, have him." I'm like, against your division rival. Like, seriously?
Well, I think that when you have guys like Six, though, that, really came up and dazzled, you want to give him that extra spot. You have Pablo Lopez, who I think has been really solid. And I think one guy also who's going to be interesting because we've seen him so much as a Yankee fan is Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton to the Braves, I think, is a great signing because that gives them a 1-2-3 punch.
That's your guy.
And it gives them a veteran to go with Max Fried,
Right. And then not to mention building Ian Anderson, and you're hoping you're going to get quality innings out of Mike Soroka.
God, you're talking about a four-headed monster right there, where I don't think any of them are as good as, DeGrom at his peak or when he's rolling, but I think they could all fit in as 2s and 3s. And can the offense get enough off of DeGrom, and can they beat some of the other guys up? How does Noah come back? Does Cookie come back?
Right.
That's going to be the real matchup because, the Mets will take game 1, but after that, I think it gets interesting.
And see, that's my food for thought is to me every time when I look at pitching, if you give me the quality innings, if you give me the 6 quality innings, that's all I ask for. 7 is only just a stretch. But if you give me 6 quality innings on that, then you're basically looking at it like, okay, you're giving the bullpen enough time to really reshape and refocus. So when they're ready to roll, they know their roles and do your jobs.
And you're expecting Acuna to play like one of the top guys in the game. So you're expecting him and Freddie to hit.
Oh, so,
if you can get them quality innings and give these guys a little less pressure on the at-bats so they can just go out and do their thing, they're dangerous.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to move on to, I guess, Taco's division. That is the AL East. You got your usual suspects, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Rays, and
the Orioles.
The Oreos. Projection wise in regards to who's going to finish where, I have the Yankees winning the division, Toronto Blue Jays finishing second, just barely getting by the Tampa Bay Rays. I think Toronto's going to end up finishing in second place by a game in front of Tampa, and then Boston and the Orioles finishing it out. So curious to hear what you guys think on this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have it that way from 5-1 the Baltimore Orioles. Look, I really am excited to see what Adley Rutschman really can do in this, in this game, because I just think he's an up and coming guy that I have a projected that I believe he may be a sleeper to winning Rookie of the Year. I think he's a guy that,
because start with the club.
Not quite. I think they still have him working, and then eventually, like how they did with the Cubs with Chris Bryant, they'll have him work a little bit just to kind of get the feel, and then when they call him up, that's where they'll start from there. So you're probably going to start to see him about late May or late April, early May at best for the call up. But I do see that Baltimore, it's another like Miami, it's a rebuilding organization, but they do have some real good guys. Ryan Mountcastle and what was it? The other guy, Santander. He was another guy that was a breakout star for, even in a short season. He was good.
And Means is starting to get a little better.
Yes. Yeah. Ford, to me, I agree with the Boston Red Sox. I mean, I do think that, besides Adley Rutschman, Bobby Delbeck has really impressed me this spring. I have been surprised by the results I've seen from him. He's going to be another guy that will be productive. And I do expect Michael Chavis to really have a good season of his own. But I got to see some big step-ups from Xander Bogaerts and JD Martinez, because that's where the meat of that order in the lineup has got to get going. Because I know what I'm getting out of Rafael Devers. I mean, the guy plays well enough defensively, and he's also a guy that's going to put up the offensive productions. Third for me, I do see take a step back as the Tampa Bay Rays. The reason I say this is because I will never ever disregard their pitching staff. The pitching staff, I don't know what it is about it, but they're always ridiculous. But now you're without Blake Snell. You're without at least a couple of arms, even Charlie Morton. But I do see Tyler Glasnow really reshaping his mechanics, and he'll be the ace. Chris Archer, which is interesting to me that they bring him back. They are going to really fix him up from like bottom to top and really make him the ace that he was of this staff years ago. I do think that the lineup is kind of jumpy. It's almost like Washington to me. I think Randy Arozarena is really going to be the breakout star for this lineup. And a couple of other really good notables like Joey Wendell and a couple others that could have some real good sticks. Yeah, Brandon Lau as well. So this is a team that I want to see what their production is going to look like. But because of that pitching staff alone, that'll be a team that's going to finish third, maybe punch their ticket into a wild card spot. Number 2, I agree with the Toronto Blue Jays. They have a real good rotation. I can't wait to see how Nate Pearson pitches in this league. But I like the lineup with Kevin Biggio, Bo Bichette, Vladdy Jr., and also George Springer. That's a team that is really going to make some noise in the East. Maybe not like how it was in the 15 season, but this will be good enough where the production, it's going to be a fun team to watch.
Springer is on the 10-day IL, by the way, with an oblique strain to start the season.
Oh, God.
I think one guy that went under the radar for them, too, was Marcus Semien that they got from the Oakland A's.
Oh,
to play second base for them. And
See,
I think that's going to be a great
me as an A's fan, I never understood that deal, because I'm just like, what the hell are you going to do with him? I know you're going to put him in second, but like he was really tough at short. I mean, he had an MVP type season in 2019. Like he was putting up the numbers.
He had last year. He has great power. He has decent discipline. I don't think he gives you the most in the average, but overall, I mean, when you think about what you would be putting there, I think he's like one of the top, 100 players, I would say, in the game.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an improvement. But I do think that with the Rays, like you said, their pitching staff consistently, time after time, is just so good. And even in situations
especially that bullpen.
Yeah, they will go with openers. And I think that's the thing that scares me about them more than the Blue Jays, is that their front office is so good. Like even with their lineup is literally based on who your starting pitcher is, because they say set matchups. Well, this guy has a great split versus a righty. This guy's a split versus a lefty. And this is how we set our lineup. And they're so analytical that I just really can't count them out as being that second place team, especially when you have guys like McKay and all the other arms that they have. Patino now that they got in the from San Diego in the Snell deal. So they have some arms to come up during the season where I think they can outpitch a Blue Jays because, I mean, when we saw Pearson pitch last season, he didn't quite have it. He kind of had like a 6 ERA for a little bit. I think that his stuff plays. He has, high-end fastball near 100 miles per hour, great breaking balls. I think he's a future star in the league, but can he put it together his rookie season? That's going to be huge for the Blue Jays. They need him. They're not going to win that wild card without him, I don't think. I mean, Ryu is number 1, but who is really their number 2?
That's true too. I mean, if you don't have a true number 2 outside of all of those guys, that's where, usually that's how the totem really breaks. I mean, outside of them, they really have to consider it. And maybe, like we mentioned, if we come trade deadline time, if there is a front end starter that you could really kind of plug into to be serviceable within that meat of the rotation, then I would say things could change. That could really just kind of change the tempo and where they might actually have reliability in their pitching staff, and one that their lineup can do. Yeah.
I think the Yankees pitching staff is severely underrated right now because I think Cole is a pure ace. He can match up with anybody. But we may have 4 number 3s. Yeah. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, Kluber, I'm not expecting him to come in and be a world beater, but I'm expecting him to do exactly what you said. Give you those solid 6 innings, be able to keep guys off base, maybe only give up 2-3 runs, be competitive, and be that guy that you need when you need a good game. And I think that we're going to see a big evolution from a guy like, Herman or Montgomery. I think one of these 2 guys, or Tyone, one of those 3 guys I think is going to break out because all had great springs. The Yankee pitching staff had great springs. Armand gave up like 1 run. Montgomery had like a 0.9 ERA. So one of those guys I feel like could be a number 2 type. Herman, we already saw hit the 18 wins in that season before he had the domestic violence, which killed his playoff berth that season, which was big for us. And he was gone all of last season. So I think he's a massive wild card. And Luis Servino coming back for us is like making one of those late season deals. So I think our pitching staff is going to play this year. I think that the only team I'm really worried about is the White Sox because they have the hitting and the pitching that could be really interesting come the playoffs.
Well, we'll see exactly about that. But yeah, and it's funny. You just finished it up right there for me when it comes to the division. But I do think the Yankees will finish up first in the AL East because my only thing is just one thing. Just stay healthy. Yep. Just stay healthy for God's sakes, because it's like,
and even if we're not, we got it.
This team on paper looks so good, but if you don't have consistency with health, it really takes a toll on you, especially when you've got the magic month of momentum. When you're going into October, because that's crucial. That's crucial for any team. So if I'm getting Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hitting bombs, but I'm getting like the spray hitting out of DJ LeMahieu. Also, Gleyber Torres doing really good with his hitting as well.
Sleeper MVP right there. This is his breakout season. You already see it from the spring. He came in with a whole new attitude. He's in much better shape. I've invested all my fantasy capital into him. I got some rookie sports cards of him. Gleyber Torres, write it down. He's going to be a top 5 MVP candidate this season.
And honestly, I couldn't agree more with you on that, because I feel like Gleyber Torres, the more he just continues to work on his hitting mechanics, he will be that guy that pops. My biggest thing with the rotation is because Garrett Cole, I already know what I'm getting out of him. But I thought it was really interesting. And isn't that funny for a former Cy Young Award winner in Corey Kluber? The fact that he comes into a Yankees rotation where giving him the 6 quality innings. Remember, this is a guy that Cleveland, unfortunately, the way they were servicing him was one that I wouldn't have done like myself. I would have at least just given him the benefit of getting those quality innings and then just shutting it down from there and relying on my bullpen. And so now him coming into this Yankees rotation, it's going to be a lot better. The only subtraction they had was James Paxton as he goes back to Seattle again. But I am getting Jameson Taillon on top of it, and I do think he's an underrated rotation guy, because watching his stuff in Pittsburgh was really good, especially when it was him and Trevor Williams. Those were 2 underrated guys I enjoyed watching in Pittsburgh. And I think Tayon's really going to mesh well, knowing that you're going to have the consistency of this rotation. It's going to get better, but I do see the Yankees winning this division here in the East.
And he's really good friends with Garrett Cole, and that's one of the reasons why they did get him.
Oh yeah, because when the second that Cole was in Pittsburgh, it was helping him out to where it was fixing his mechanics. And don't forget about this, because it would have been interesting had you seen Tyler Glasnow, because you only spent short term with Pittsburgh.
That the Pittsburgh Pirates made one of the
that.
worst deals ever when they
when they went and got Chris Archer for that.
Archer for nothing. Nothing. It was so bad.
And Pittsburgh's just down in the tank. It's unfortunate. But yeah, that's what I have it finishing at. Baltimore, Boston, Tampa, Toronto, and the Yankees there. That's from 5-1. That's the standings I have for this division.
Moving on, we're gonna move to the NL Central.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, right. Let me pull it up.
Playing in the mud now.
So you got the Cubs, the Reds, the Brewers, the Pirates, and the Cardinals in this division.
And right now, this is as of tonight, I guess, with projected standings, and I'm agreeing with because we talked about this a while back too, and I agreed with it, and I'm still the same with it. Milwaukee Brewers winning the division. The Cubs and the Cardinals are going to be dead tied by the end of the regular season. Looking at 80 and 82 for both teams. Cincinnati Reds finishing at 79 and 83, and the Pittsburgh Pirates finishing at 62 and 100. Holy shit!
That's so crazy. How could the Reds have Castillo and Sonny Gray and just be so bad?
Because Sonny Gray was Sonny Gray
last year. Sonny Gray
was
year, but when he was a Yankee, he was
damn good with the
juice.
A's. But
he sucked with the Yankees. Yes, I agree.
I mean, listen, you know what kind of sucks about this now? Because we lost both of those prospects now to trades. I'm pissed at that because remember, the Sonny Gray deal included Jorge Mateo and Dustin Fowler.
Yep.
They're both gone.
Yep.
Jorge Mateo's now in San Diego, and now Dustin Fowler, I believe.
Listen, don't worry. We got Jason Dominguez coming up. That's the new Mike Trout. Don't worry. It's the Dominican Mike Trout. He's flopping those all day. He's just hit dingers. Like, don't worry. He's 18. He's already the 30th ranked prospect in all of baseball, and he hasn't played a single game yet.
Latino power, my friend.
Latino power, man. But I think this division is going to be really interesting if the Cardinals pitching staff can get it together, because you have a team that has, Goldschmidt, you just got Arenado, and Jack Flaherty. I don't think he's as bad as he pitched last year at the start of the season. He's a perennially, Cy Young candidate.
Yeah, and I think that also too with him and Adam Wainwright being there with him as a veteran presence, that's one thing that's really going to help him. But again, all of that is really going to come from the quality calling that you're hearing behind the plate with Yadi Molina. I mean, he does this all the time.
Bro.
My God. I mean, I love watching this guy. I've always said this. He's a future manager. He is a future manager,
Yadi?
in my opinion. Yes.
Of the Cardinals.
Catchers make great managers, dude.
Okay.
They really, because I'm just like, if you can work a pitching staff, whether you're making the right calls, the right situations, I seriously think he'd be a really good manager. I mean, I think about these catchers we've had as managers. Mike Matheny at one point, it was kind of questionable, but he did win some divisions and went to the World Series.
Joe Girardi,
AJ Hinch, and Joe Girardi. I mean, there's a handful. There's a handful of some of these catchers that they just make great managers because
Yogi Berra was a catcher, a manager. Johnny Bench, I think, also was a manager for a while. So it's just history because they deal with both the offense and the pitching staff. So you're most familiar with both sides of the ball. And I think the best thing about Yadi is he's just such a leader. Especially if the Cardinals hired him as like their next manager, like he took a couple years off and then came back as the Cardinals manager.
That'd be sick.
Nobody could say anything to him. He'd be like, "I got the ring here. I got the ring."
You can't say anything to him now. I'm that's one dude that I would not want to piss off in the streets because I feel like he would cold clock you right away. Nope.
Yeah, he'll put you in your place easily. But if I looked at this division right now, Pittsburgh, I know for a fact they're sitting last. I mean, I'd like to see what Ke'Bryan Hayes can really do in this league. But this is an organization that after McCutchen, after Starling Marte and all of this, I think is Gregory Polanco healthy? I think he is. But you've only got certain superstars there that eventually Pittsburgh is just going to be one of those teams that's going to rebuild. They're going to have to rely a lot on their farm system to really get them back to where they want to be. So this is a one of the three rebuilding teams from here.
I'm pretty sure that they're just tanking for Jack Flaherty at this point. Not Jack Flaherty, Jack Leiter. From Vanderbilt.
That's probably what it is.
That kid is going to be a monster.
I've been watching him.
So proud, man.
I've been watching him, and I love this kid, man. Too. Oh my god, he's a beast.
Yeah. So I think that's what you're going to see this whole season's about. Who could have the worst record? And the Pirates aren't even trying.
Yeah, the Pirates aren't even trying at all.
Yeah,
lighter sweepstakes.
Yeah, right. I feel like this is interesting to me, but I do feel like the Cincinnati Reds will finish fourth here in this one. Outside of Raisel Iglesias and Sonny Gray, this is a team that their rotation has always been kind of good, mediocre side. I mean, they've got some good guys, but it's still not enough to really kind of put them in the position where they feel like they're an elite team in the National League. And you've even got Mike Moustakas. You've got Eugenio Suarez. You've got some of these guys that they can hit. They
have two players, though, that really interest me this year. One is their top prospect from 2018, Jonathan India, who's going to actually start with the big club. He gives you power and speed. He's one of those prospects where if he plays up to his potential, it could make for the Reds to be a wild card. And they have a guy, Sims, who's kind of playing between possibly like the setup man to the closer to go along with Amir Garrett.
Yeah.
So I think if they can get that rotation just to play like Sonny Gray to do what he's supposed to do, Castillo, I mean, let's face it, everyone's trying to bid for this guy. They're probably going to sell him come the deadline. But if he could live up to his potential, they probably have the best two pitchers off the bat. I mean, the Brewers, I think, have an interesting rotation, but those two might be the best duo in the division.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I really do agree with that. I think that's exactly what maybe the play in the cards for them. But if they really do, again, this is a team that they got to catch fire. If they're going to make that happen, they've got
last year.
Yeah, they did. And you have to think about it too with their lineup with Nick Castellanos and a lot of these guys. Oh, yeah, he's on fire. I mean, the guy has made some serious adjustments since he was, acquired from the Cubs, and then not to mention being with the Reds. His production levels have been so much better. And it's kind of surprising because Detroit was just not working out for him. It was not clicking. And then eventually, once he changed colors and changed leagues, it's been much better for his production. And I can see a lot of that plate discipline out of him. And so I do see Cincinnati finishing fourth here. Third to me is interesting, but I do see the Chicago Cubs. Look, I look at it this way. To me, they're so much like a mirroring image of the Chicago Blackhawks because you've got superstars, Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant. And then you also have Javier Baez. Wilson Contreras, I'm not worried about because I know you're still going to have him in a Cub uniform. But what's interesting to me is that I'm surprised that you're getting good production levels out of Jock Peterson. What the hell? Are you serious right now? Like, that's the one thing that really caught my attention the most this spring.
You know who also was pretty solid for the last couple of seasons, even though it's a horrible contract, and that's Hayward.
They need to sell him out. They need to sell him out badly.
Now, here's my question to you. Who do you think is a better player at this point in their career? Would you take a Chris Bryant or would you take a Eugenio Suarez?
Suarez.
I honestly...
Because I think that the Reds' offensive lineup might be better than the Cubs at this point because Rizzo also was someone that had a really down season. And the Cubs, I mean, other than Liam Hendricks or Hendricks, I would say who's really
Kyle Hendricks,
who's going to be their ace?
That's going to be
and their bullpen is suspect because I don't trust Kimbrel.
Yeah, no, and Kimbrel, to be honest, he does not have the same stuff like he did in Atlanta. Not at all. And this has really changed for him because bouncing from San Diego to Boston to Chicago, this is where he's really trying to find his mechanics again. And I just don't think he's really found this. I don't know what it is, but this is why I feel like it's a mirroring image of the Blackhawks, because you, outside of Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves, you're hoping that Alex DeBrincat, Andrew Shaw, and a lot of these young kids are really going to pop. And you lose Brandon Saad, you lose surprisingly Robin Leonard, and now Corey Crawford. So you're going to get those old contracts. That's why I'm like, buy out the Jason Hayward contract because it's not helping your cause. His offense has been massively terrible since he signed the contract in 2016.
If there was one horrible to tell off, it would be the Cubs. Because, like you said, it's just like they have a lot of guys like the Hayward, like even like Chris Bryant. I feel like they did everything they could to try to sell him in the offseason, but that value from his MVP season has completely diminished, I feel like.
But this is the thing with it, is also the injuries and the health. This is the one thing that's really kind of taken a toll on it. But at the same time, they've been bouncing everybody everywhere. That's what's the unfortunate part, because you thought that Chris Bryant would be the everyday third baseman. No, they bounced a lot of people, whether it's going to be David Bodie or it's going to be, Baez up at third or any of them. So they've utilized everybody. And I'm just like, look, is this a team full of utilization? Is that what's happening? Because you couldn't put Kyle Schwarber around in a lot of places, even though he slimmed down to play outfield, which that was all the effort. But then you think of where you're going to put Wilson Contreras. It seems like there is such a complete cluster that this is why the Cubs were pushing for universal DH, because it's just like we have so many players. One, they could have used Schwarber as just a stick, and then others they could have used like, okay, this is their natural position. They're good. Like that's it. That's what's hurting the Cubs in this position. And then not to mention this rotation. It's not the same now with outside of Kyle Hendricks. You don't have John Lester. You don't have Cole Hamels. This is now just a struggling rotation. And now you bring back Jake Arrieta.
And what did they even get for Darvish? Like, they got rid of Darvish for virtually nothing. And Darvish was an ace for them last season. So to me, it already signals that they're in a situation now where I don't really even trust them. I think that you might even see the Reds, if they get, like, I think the Reds and the Cubs and the Pirates could all be in the same position where maybe if one of them get hot, they could do something. But I think all three are in a race to the bottom. And I think that it'll be really interesting with the Cubs because they already seem to be selling. You got rid of Darvish for nothing.
I mean, and this is my only thing is that if you sell this well with this Chris Bryant deal, you're better hoping that you're going to get future draft picks.
Yeah.
You are hoping that you're going to get at least a couple players. Something, please, for God's sakes, pitching.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about this offense because you're going to have David Bodie. You're going to have, you're going to even have Nico Horner.
Yeah.
You're going to have these young kids that are going to be coming up for their offense, because offense, you can find it anywhere. But if your pitching's not right, that's where you really have to fix that position the most. And it's most important in this league.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have to rely a lot on the kid, Alizoy, that they have coming up. They're going to need him to pitch like he's at least a top 3, top 4 rotation piece coming out of the minors for them to compete, because the staff is short.
Yeah, it's true. My number 2, of course, is honestly the Milwaukee Brewers. The reason that I say this about them is because this is a team that I really do like their offense, because Lorenzo Cain, is going to be healthy. Christian Yelich is going to be healthy. But I like the second base competition between Keston Hiura and Colton Wong.
He's going to first. It's going to be great. I think Hiura is a monster. He's a monster.
Hiura is really good. I think he's a guy that is going to break out in this league. Now, they do have at least a couple of real good bats as well for utilization, but this is a team, they're really going to have to rely on their production to get them there. But the other thing that really questions me is the rotation with Brandon Woodruff, with a couple of these other guys. Is that rotation? Yeah. Is this rotation really going to be good enough to get them through, even if you get the playoff berth, the length of the playoffs? If they can't get it past to the next round, then that's where they really have to finish it up and maybe address it in the trade deadline. where they go and get a frontline guy. We've seen this happen with the Brewers multiple times because they really hadn't had guys outside of Giovanni Gallardo, Zach Greinke at one point. Oh my God. Yeah. And then Sean Markham and some of these guys. Like, you really didn't have, somebody else to fill in that rotation, let alone your bullpen. So
that's one thing though that they do have now that's really good is that bullpen. And they had the rookie that came out last year, Williams, who was just
was great.
He had like 56 strikeouts in 20 innings with under a 1 WHIP, under a 1 ERA. And I think, like you said, I could see them making a move at a deadline for a starter and maybe even dangling a guy like Hader to get that starting piece rotation because your bullpen is so deep. And the Brewers, I mean, I think between Hurriah and Yelich, those are going to be two of the best bats in the league. Like,
it could be possible, but my only thing with Josh Hader is that if you're gonna do this right, control, because the only guy that I could really kind of look at with this position is Chris Sale. Because of that delivery there as a left-hander, that's where he really has to get control from here. So that's where the Brewers really have to work on this the most. But I do see them pushing for a wild card spot. Now, the one team, of course, that I see winning this division is the St. Louis Cardinals. I just look at this with this offense. Now, yes, outside of Jack Flaherty and Adam Wainwright, these guys have to step themselves up. But I do feel like the Cardinals may address something in the trade deadline we wouldn't even expect. And that's the one part that's really going to juice up the rotation. Needs at least a little help in the bullpen. They'll probably get some bits and pieces into their bullpen. But this offense with Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, I've been seeing some good things out of Harrison Bader that I think is really good. I think he's going to be a standout guy. Paul DeJong, you're hoping is going to be healthy, that he's another guy in that 1-2 spot that can get things started. But ultimately,
that is the kid.
Yeah, Carlson, he's going to look like that kid, man.
Yeah.
But I do see that. So that's my 5 right there. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Louis from 5 to 1.
Interessante. We now move on to the AL Central.
Oh boy.
Another Chicago team. Your favorite, your new favorite team, other than your Oakland A's for some strange ass reason.
How can you have all that Yankee stuff and be an Oakland fan? You're sending mixed signals.
Okay, this is where I got to tell you this, Taco, because I do have family that live in New York. They live in Long Island in Smithtown. And the first game I went to when I was 6 years old was at Yankee Stadium. And let me tell you the guys. Jim Abbott, Derek Jeter, Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez, Joe Girardi. I seen all of those guys. And Derek Jeter was my absolute favorite icon, just as the captain, like the leadership he had, clutch hitting and instincts. That was the one thing I had. And then what was cool about it, fast forward to 13, I did go to Cooperstown. I seen the Baseball Hall of Fame. Fabulous, dude. It was awesome. And then to top it off, icing on the cake, we go down to the Bronx and we do the Yankee Stadium tour. And I got a chance to be on the field. Yeah. I got a chance to be on the field with all the legends, all the greats. And it was just like, man, I was soaking all of that in.
Did you go to the old stadium or new stadium?
The old stadium.
Oh my God, that one is so cool. The press boxes that they have with my God.
Oh my God. The legendary announcer's voice, dude. Like
Bob Shepard. Bob Shepard is the shit.
Shepard was the shit, dude. Seriously.
It just had that old feel. Oh, nostalgia at its finest.
The Museum of Natural History. Anyways.
Dedicated to the Yankees. I love it.
But to me, it's like how I became an A's fan is I just love the young talent. I love like kind of the next kid. Yeah. Like the next kids up, I love the fact that
they don't keep them though. Like
they don't, but they, for whatever reason, they still stay competitive. They just are waiting for that opportunity to win a World Series. No. That's the only thing. And Billy Beane, out of the 20 years he's been doing this Moneyball thing, I don't know. I mean, right. This is why I've always said it. This is now or never. Every time I was back in this position when they had Donaldson, Cespedes, Brandon Boss, and all these guys, they need to
I think Luzardo is going to be a stud this season.
Luzardo's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
AJ Puck is going to be a
Oh,
stud.
that's another kid.
We will touch the A's when we
Hey.
when we get to the AL West. Right now, we're talking the Minnesota Twins, the Chicago White Sox, the Cleveland Indians, the Kansas City Royals, and Detroit Tigers. And for some strange reason, I did that in order of what the projected standings is going to be. You got the Twins winning the division. They're going to be ahead by 5 games come the end of the season, with Chicago finishing in second place, Cleveland in third, Kansas City fourth, and of course the Detroit Tigers fifth. Let's hear what you guys got to say on this.
So to be honest, I feel like I'm flip-flopping Detroit and Kansas City. I feel like Kansas City is going to end up hitting the 5th spot. The only reason is because it is a young rotation. It's a young rotation that needs to work. I'm not concerned with their offense with Jorge Soler and Salvador Perez and a couple of other good sticks. But this always happens. You would either have superstars there on that lineup, but your rotation when it's young and it's developing does take a toll on you at times. But this is where let's just see. I mean,
but they do have some high quality young guys because Singer last season was not no slouch.
No,
I'm expecting him to be really good. I have invested a lot of fantasy capital into Singer because I do think that he is one of those young guys that has that staying power. You also have Daniel Lynch still there coming up. So the Royals have prospects, and like you said, their offense isn't something I'm going to worry about. They have good defense. They're another guy like, they have the Yadier Molina AL version in Salvi Perez. So he's a solid guy behind the plate. He gives you a lot more offensively than Yadi because he just signed that massive new contract. He's been hitting the ball absolutely on a tear recently. You still have the Soler there. I think that Carlos Santana will be good for that lineup because he gives you good on base percentage, get some guys on. Sure. Mondesi is still good. I'm buying Singer and some of these rotation arms that they do have in Kansas City. I think that the Royals make noise and they don't finish 5th. I mean, I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think maybe they're better in 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, well, and we'll see it because, like I said, this is one of those teams.
Bobby Wood Jr.
They do. Yeah, Bobby Wood Jr. Yep, and that's where I'm just like, I look at it like this is another team that has to catch fire if they're really going to make that happen. So if they do, they might change our minds, and we might actually think positively about this team's development. The Detroit Tigers, I do see up at 4th. My thing is look who you have at the helm, AJ Hinch. Yeah. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say whatever, but he's the only person who came out clean of the situation. Alex Cora didn't. Carlos Beltran didn't. None of these guys, not even Jeff Lunau or even the owner, Jim Crane, did. Mm-hmm. So AJ, I think, took his suspension well, and he very much respected. That's why I was just like, I'm not going to give him anything because I feel like he's going to come back and he's going to bounce back really good. Now, coming into a Detroit team that's young with Nick Goodrum and a bunch of other good guys, this could be a team that really changes things up. This could be a small ball team that their focus is runs, on base percentage, and RBIs to me. I feel like this is going to be one of those small ball teams that with Hinch and his mindset, what he took from Houston and what he's plugging into Detroit, that is a challenge for him. Now, of course, with the rotation and the bullpen of the team, the pitching staff, all together, you just got to work for quality innings. That's really what you have to do with this. And I'm hoping Michael Fulmer will be healthy. He has to because he's the catalyst of this rotation. Yeah. So if they move by his lead, then like I said, a team that could catch fire, that could change the thoughts of what we see as their development.
So my question to you then is this. Both of these guys are young rotations, right? Between a guy like Detroit and like the Royals. Which rotation would you tend to like think is better long term, or at least for this season? Because I feel like both are going to heavily rely on some of their young prospect pitchers between Casey Mize and I can't even pronounce TS's name, Scarborough, whatever. Yeah. But both of these guys, I feel like both these teams have young rotation. So which one do you kind of lean towards more?
So I feel like the one I lean towards more, to be honest, and I'm looking at this from a perspective, and I do like Singer,
Mhm.
but I don't think they really have that veteran present guy in a
I agree with
rotation. That's the only difference.
Mhm.
Now, Fulmer, he's been in this league, and he
Mhm.
was also a standout rookie in his rookie season. He
Mhm.
was also a guy that I think pitched real good quality innings. That's why he has to stay healthy, because this is only going to help, not just in his case, but it's going to help in the cases of others of their developments with Casey Mize and
Mhm.
a couple of others. That's what really has to work for that. But that's where I think for Detroit, that's where I kind of lean as a slight edge on their way, even though I like Singer. But
Mhm.
outside of it, everybody else has to be up on on the same
Mhm.
page. But I just don't feel like Kansas City has that veteran guy. And maybe you
But
might
they probably
have.
have a better offense than I would say like a Detroit.
Yes, you will have a better
I
offense than Detroit.
I think that the race between those two teams is going to be really interesting because they're almost like, I feel like Detroit is going to be more small ball, and they're going to hope their pitching comes around because they have a lot of top end talent on their pitching. Because Casey Mize is one of the best prospects in baseball. He didn't put
I
it together
agree.
last season, but he is a guy that you expect to be a future, at least a 1, 2, or 3 at the very worst. If he fails, he should be a 3. Like, that's kind of like the
Absolutely.
expectations for him.
Right, and that'll give him some time to really kind
Yeah.
of re-strategize and really kind of reshape his mechanics, and
Yeah.
hoping that he could be a standout 1-2 guy.
Yeah. I don't know why his control is so bad, though. That's the big
I
thing with
don't
these
know.
prospects.
I don't know, and maybe that's just from the butterflies or the jitters or whatever it is, because sometimes those guys can come in there with that type of loose of control, and they can't really, because that also hits their locations. Because if your locations is not there, that's where, you're pressing, you are pushing too much. Number 3 is definitely the Cleveland Indians. The reason I say this is because I love Shane Bieber, and I also do love Jose Ramirez. But Cleveland has just become one of those middle of the pack type teams. I don't get it, because this is a team that when they had Francisco Lindor, when they had Carlos Santana, and they had these guys, this team was really putting up some energy and some offense. But this also was a team that was very underrated of their pitching. And now Kluber's gone. They had Andrew Miller at one point. He's gone. And so it's just like, it didn't seem like after that 16 World Series, they shaped up well. They were trying their absolute best, but they didn't shape up well. And it really took a toll for the most. But I do see Shane Bieber really staying consistent with his pitching and his control. Jose Ramirez, I see, as a big production year, an MVP caliber year. Now, it'll be interesting to see how guys like Ahmed Rosario, Bradley Zimmer, and a bunch of guys. I am hoping that Tyler Naquin really gets things going for them in their offense. But it'll be interesting. And Fran Reyes. So it's like Cleveland to me is just
the guy that they traded from the Mets. I think he has an interesting upside, some stolen bases, some good defense. And like you said, I feel like that this is the team that they were a good team, but they came up at the same time that the Astros and the Rays and the Yankees kind of all had their plateau. So it's kind of hard for them to stick out when, the Yankees have been, the Yankees haven't even won. They've been knocking on the door because you've had Houston being so consistent for so long. And that's the AJ Hinch effect. And I think that's kind of why when you look at a team like Detroit, getting a guy like that who can change the whole culture, maybe not this season, but getting these young guys now to change that mindset could maybe pay dividends next season and going forward.
Which was why that was my vision, is just like, I just see him really work in this lineup. I do see him work in this rotation to where it's not going to be like a right away hit, but it's going to leave you with a positive note, knowing that you've got the right guy at the helm that's going to shape these young guys and build them well, because Detroit has not had that in a long time. And plus, you're already on the tail end of Miguel Cabrera's career.
This is going to be it for him this year. He's going to get the hits. He's going to get his home runs, and then he's going to ride off into the sunset. This is it for him this year.
I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Triple Crown guys. But yeah, I do agree that even last season with his power gone,
and the youngest kid is winning a World Series with the the Florida Marlins.
I had him as a fantasy. That was like my first fantasy draft guy. My first pick.
How old were you? Like 12?
No, I was like 18.
I'm joking, bro.
It's still right there.
So yeah, that's just how I feel with with the Cleveland Indians. Number 2 to me, this will be interesting, but the Minnesota Twins.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the knock on them. It's not their offense. Their offense is working just fine. I love Max Kepler, and on top of it, they get Josh Donaldson, a guy that bringer of rain, man. He's the bringer of homers and RBIs. The other thing of it is you've got Miguel Sano that you're everybody's hoping big production out of him. And then you've got Byron Buxton, who actually is finally starting to click with this offense now. It's finally starting to happen because he was such a base running threat that it took him. Yeah. And it took him so much time to just get the hits, get the on base, and be a base stealing threat. And now it's finally starting to happen.
I'll say this, though. He's set up to be one of the biggest busts because he should have been bigger and better than that. Buxton was
I was so disappointed with that. Yeah, I was disappointed at the start because I was just like, oh, man, if it's going to end up like this, that's not going to look good. Like, it'll just be feeling like this was a reach and like he's just not the prospect. And then you got to trade him for some sort of incentive or something to keep the consistency. So the only knock for the Twins, it has to be the rotation. That's the only thing. They lose Jake Odorizzi. Now they do have Kenta Maeda, and they've lost even Kyle Gibson. I don't know what this rotation is going to look like. I know what you're going to get out the offense, but outside of some of these arms, Minnesota, they can get competitive, but they'll have a slight edge. But that's one that I think is the knock on them, is that rotation. This rotation has got to work. But if you really want to know who my number 1 is, it's got to be the Chicago White Sox. Here's what I said. I actually envisioned this years ago. The Chris Sale trade. I said, give Chicago 3-4 years, they will be competitive. Because the only thing I looked at from this front office, they were smart enough to get at least good draft picks. They were smart enough to end up getting prospects. And on top of it, they were also saving their money's worth up for those contracts. It's finally starting to happen. Jose Abreu has a short season MVP type year. Now what you're seeing out of Luis Robert. It is unfortunate watching Eloy Jimenez get hurt, but I know what I'm getting out of him. The other part of this also is the young pitching staff. Lucas Giolito, Ronaldo Lopez. I want to see Michael Kopech pitch. For God's sakes, I've been waiting on this kid to really just get up there. But then at the same time, you get Liam Hendricks. You'll get a bunch of bullpen guys. This is a team that's not screwing around. And after making the postseason last year was just the start. Now you're at 162 games. They're going to get serious, and they're going to make some noise. My other guy that who was it? Their second baseman or something like that.
Tim
I believe
Anderson,
it was
or Nick Madrigal.
Well, there's Nick Madrigal that I think is going to be a really good guy. Tim Anderson, I do see as a standout
And
stud.
you still got Johan Moncada.
Yeah, Yohan Moncada, but it was one other guy too. It was
Andrew Vaughn?
what was his name? It's like
Monty Grandel. Their offense. That's
Oh,
what
he's going
down the whole-
that I'm worried about. Also, because their rotation is good, because you have
Yeah.
Giolito, you have Keuchel, you have Lance Lynn. You also have a guy, like you said, a Mike Kopech, who this season, unfortunately, is not going to probably be a starter. He's going to come out of the bullpen.
he'll come out of the bullpen, and I'm
Tommy John.
totally fine with that.
But it's so depressing because I'm a big fantasy guy, and I had Kopech for that rookie season when he was called up, and he was triple digiting, just destroying guys, and then he blew out his arm right before the playoffs. But another two guys that they have that I think that's really interesting and underplayed is Carlos Rondon. What's his? Oh, I forgot the other guy, Daniel Cess. Those two guys also have good upside. So I think between the five of them, you get Liam Hendricks in the back end of the bullpen, and you have one of the best offenses because, yes, you did lose Jimenez, and you're hoping that he can come back from the real-life playoffs.
Yeah.
But a guy like Vaughn is a prodigious bat, a top prospect, and now for him to get some at bats, it's gonna hurt, but it couldn't hurt that much if he delivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't this funny though that they get Adam Eaton back after
that was the deal that deal set them up even more than probably the sale deal, because in that deal they got Giolito.
Yeah, and on top of it, they get Giolito. They ended up getting Ronaldo Lopez because initially that was also what was helping getting Yohan Moncada and Michael Kopech.
Yeah.
So this
Moncada
is where
a monster.
Oh, Moncada, dude, I loved having Moncada on my fantasy baseball league. Like he was an absolute stud for me. Like if I had to choose in a lineup, I put him at the 2. Yep. I am putting him at the 2 because of what he's capable of, pushing. The guy can do it, and he's real good defensively at second. The other guy I was thinking of too in the middle of a lineup that you punch in is Danny Mendick. I think a guy that I think, because I look at some of these standout guys that I think Mendick is going to be one guy. He's not on this active roster as of now, but give him time to readjust his mechanics and his hitting. He's going to be a real good guy that's going to break out. I promise you. But that's what I look at in this AL Central is Kansas City, Detroit, Cleveland, Minnesota, and Chicago from 5-1.
Yep. I think White Sox are a Final Four team, to be honest.
Well, we'll see about that. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but let's see about that. I like the young core, but let's just see how they work it.
I mean, who are we afraid of? I mean, we know Yankees are going to be there.
Oh, God. All right, moving on.
Hey, if you want to guarantee, just plug in Jack Parkman.
There we go. AL West.
AL
West. Oh my goodness. We have.
Do I really need to explain myself with this?
Yeah, pretenders and contenders.
All right. So you got the Astros winning the division. You got the Angels The Angels finishing second. The A's finishing third. Seattle finishing fourth. Texas Rangers finishing fifth.
No.
Yeah, I would say Oakland potentially winning the division or finishing in second place. I think it's going to be a back and forth between them and the Astros. Angels maybe third, Mariners, and then Rangers.
So I'm going to explain this really, really good. Taco's going to laugh at this. So Seattle Mariners, what the fuck are you guys? What kind of a franchise are you really? You have not been the same franchise since 2001.
Last season were interesting, though.
Kyle Lewis only.
I mean, they did get the. I mean, we have one of
Who
the
else
big
do I
guys
have in this
coming up.
rotation? This also look. This is, let me just tell you this. This is the most overrated, hyped franchise. It has been for a long time. Look, 2001. If you told me that, I would have just put my words in my mouth because Jay Buhner, Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and the big unit. Yeah, I loved it. I was like, dude, this was a team that was really making some serious noise. But since then, it's not the same. And then they overhyped it with, we'll get Nelly Cruz, we'll get Robinson Cano, we'll go and get, we had Dustin Ackley of all. Oh my God, dude, I can't even begin to tell you how bad it was. I was like. So this team, I don't know what the hell they are, but I love Kyle Lewis. I do think they have some good studs that are coming up from from the farm system. JP Crawford, I think, is going to be a really good defensive infielder. But this offense and this pitching especially, for God's sakes, needs to work because this is why I'm like, this is what's going to make you laugh because the AL West has just been like this for a while. So, but Seattle, I see them as a rebuild. They're at 5. Texas at number 4. My only thing is, me living out here in Vegas, I love Joey Gallo, and I think he has really started to straighten up that plate discipline. He's been looking really good with his swing lately. Now, the Rangers, the only concern is the rotation. The rotation is young. Now, here's what's really going to make you guys laugh. How is it that Rougned Odor and Sam Leclerc are not on the active roster?
Because Odor hasn't hit for like 2 years.
Oh, the last did we overhype Odor with that hop?
The last time he hit something was when he hit Batista square across the face.
Yeah, like he is not hit. Like he's like he'll get a little bit of home runs, but his average has been so meh that you just rather move on. I do like that they got a guy from the Rockies and David Dahl. And
I really do. I like David Dahl. I think he's a guy that really works and punches in with this lineup, along with him and Gallo. Now, it's interesting for me because of just this is also a team that lost Elvis Andrus. Now they are plugging in Chris Davis, but I just feel like it's just going to be one of those teams that they're just going to get home runs. Yep. They're not, their average is going to be terrible. Now they could put up the runs as far as their RBIs go, but when your average is bad as a team, it's going to be very, very difficult to create runs, let alone score them.
I'll be honest. I think that between the Mariners and the Rangers, they're both basically just in a race to see if they can get, Jack Leiter. Like that's literally what they're playing for this season is like, I don't see them going anywhere. They didn't get anything in the offseason to make you think that they're going to go for it. Yeah. Even with the Mariners, they're keeping Jared Kelenic down, and he already might be one of their best outfielders, and he's not even getting a chance to play yet. Yeah. So I think there's rumors that the Mariners were manipulating his service time because they were supposed to call him up last year. Yeah. So I think they're really tanking. Like they really sold everything off. They're like even last offseason, like they were kind of halfway decent during last season. And then they sold everything off, and then just to get more prospects to be, in the same position. So I feel like that's a forever rebuild. They've been rebuilding since, I can't even remember 2003, 2004. They haven't gone anywhere.
I mean, my God, Texas just hadn't been the same since 2010, 2011 when they had Michael Young. Here. Oh, Charles, the Arizona homer.
The dude at the bottom is the talented Dirty Taco from the Daily Sporting.
Yep. Yeah, Texas, since they had Michael Young, Ian Kinsler, Elvis Andrus, Josh Hamilton, Nelson Cruz, and Adrian Beltre, it hasn't been the same. Even Mike Napoli. Yeah. I mean, it's not. Oh my God! But their rotation, that was a long time ago. Their rotation when they had C.J. Wilson, Matt Harrison, and they had a couple of these guys. Like, it has not been the same. Nope. So the number 3, it's the LA Angels of Anaheim. Let's be honest. The knock on them, pitching. Yeah. For God's sakes, let me just tell you this. Everybody is so overhyped of, look at Trout and Rendon and Ohtani and, where's your pitching?
Ohtani's gonna have a no-hitter this year. Watch.
I have ranted about their pitching for years because outside of Ohtani, who are you really trusting? Julio Teheran? Dylan Bundy?
Dylan Bundy's not terrible.
Jose Quintana?
Jose's been looking good in spring.
But you know what? What really sucks for them is that bullpen.
Yeah.
This is why I'm just like, sure, go ahead and put up all the offense, but your bullpen's going to kill it for you. This is why that you're seeing the Astros and the A's are getting in the postseason. That's why they're getting in there. Because they have consistent pitching everywhere.
My favorite thing about the Anaheim Angels is that they were in on the bidding for Trevor Bauer. They were ready to go for it. They got that new TV deal, so they didn't
pull the plug.
And they didn't pull the plug because the pitching coach, Mickey Callaway, and
Trevor remember Bauer when they said that they were in for Garrett Cole?
Yep. And guess what? Mickey now is out with all those allegations. It's like, you literally didn't get Bauer. You were gonna spend the money. You watched
because of your
the
pitching
Dodgers
coach.
Get him because the guy that you have that had all these allegations and accusations against him that's no longer with the team. Like, how bad of an organization do you have to be like, we're gonna keep our coach over this player?
Mind you, folks, everybody that's watching this. Okay, the Angels have not been to the postseason since 2014. Since Trout was a rookie, one postseason appearance, and they got swept by the Kansas City Royals. Do I need to keep going further? You also have a lengthy contract from Albert Pujols where he's on the tail end. This may be the it year.
Yeah.
Or, and it's just like you had Mark Trumbo. You had Andrelton Simmons.
Is Trumbo even in the league anymore?
No.
I don't know. Was he off of injury for Baltimore? Where the hell is he at?
They always would get a Josh Hamilton or Albert Pujols type with just the albatross contract that handcuffs them from doing anything on the pitching. They will always go for the hitter.
Because here's what's funny about this. They relied, like Seattle with Felix Hernandez, they relied on Jared Weaver for far too long. That's what killed them.
He was not that good. He was good, but not that good.
And what's unfortunate is CJ Wilson, no matter how much that he pitched great in Texas, and then he just falls apart. He's injury prone with the Angels. And then the other part is you had Matt Shoemaker. There was he was
always gets hurt.
Inconsistent. He was good as a middle rotation guy. I would put him at the 3, but he was not good for 1 or 2. Oh. And then you have a couple of the Trevor Cahill. You had are you serious?
Ohtani does have that number 1 type upside, but
now
the question is his health.
That's the thing is, who are you going to rely on to follow up with that? Because I know what I'm getting out of Ohtani.
Rotation in order to get Ohtani. So Ohtani would probably start once a week, every 6 days, they're saying. Because also you can't afford to lose his bat because this whole team is built on offense. And he's probably one of your top 3 hitters in that lineup.
And you know what's funny is what I liked what the Angels did was when they went and got Houston Street as a closer. They needed that. And then they fixed up the bullpen. I was like, okay, this is actually working well for them. And then they just go backwards again. Your bullpen, I don't trust because when you're in the 6 through 9 innings, it's crucial. You have to shut the door. If you don't, that's where teams like the A's, the Astros that know how to hit and pitch are going to flip the tables. Yeah, that's why they call it the turning point. They always do. So that's why Angels, enough of the hype and get serious. This is why you're 3rd. Okay. And until you impress me, come back to me.
And one player that I got to say that disappoints me the most from the Angels is Joe Adell. Because there was so much hype on Joe Adell.
The one legendary man who could bounce the ball twice over the wall.
And it's just I'm watching him and I'm like, you guys should have dealt him for some sort of frontline starter.
And you're on national television as this happens. Dude, somebody take his shoelaces for God's sakes. When the second time happened, I'm like, oh no, somebody get him, please.
That's one prospect that they need to deal off just because you still have Trout. You invested everything in Trout. You can get corners whenever. Joe Adell,
I hate to bring this up, but it's just this is just watching Joe Adell do this twice is so bad. It's worse than watching Castillo drop the ball in the night.
And the worst part is that kills your resale value on him because when you're watching guys do stuff like this, it's harder for you to get something for him because a Luis Castillo and a Joe Adell deal. That makes so much sense to me because it's you give the Reds a nice future prospect because they're dealing everything off. The Angels get a frontline pitcher that could help them compete in a division where, let's face it, there's especially with Verlander down, who's really the number 1 ace out of the AL West.
And let me be honest with you, because when I looked at this with the Julio Teheran, I'm like, are you telling me you couldn't even get a push for Jameson Taillon? You couldn't even get a push for Trevor? Any of those guys,
for nothing.
Yeah, you even tried with Steven Strasburg. That didn't work. You tried with Madison Bumgarner. That didn't work.
Yeah.
So what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
It's just you're not figuring this out right. And that's where I'm just the Angels, they'll push for their TV deals. That's why we mentioned it with the contract with their broadcasters and their television providers. But still, give Mike Trout a freaking ring for God's sakes.
Trout's gonna end up leaving there soon.
I feel like Trout will be a Dodger.
When can he opt out?
Oh my God, you can't let him go to the Dodgers.
That's what I feel like.
He's gonna go to the Mets and the Yankees.
To me, the Angels' biggest mistake this offseason was letting Yu Darvish go to the San Diego Padres for virtually nothing.
Yep.
Because the Padres acquired all these, they were like Thanos out there acquiring pitchers at the Infinity Gauntlet. They're like, okay, we have to beat the Dodgers. Guess what? I need a 5-man rotation because their top end rotation is really good. So we got to battle every night.
You want to know kind of how this all started? Remember the time when they acquired Zach Greinke in 2012 and they let him walk to go to the Dodgers the next year?
It's just
that's how all of this started. And then you rely on Jared Weaver, and he only gets one no-hitter, and then he's shit.
Yeah,
like that's it. Like,
and the GM, I think that GM needs to go.
Oh my God, Billy Epler, he's already gone. Billy Epler is shit.
Yeah,
like he is terrible.
One of the worst.
Terrible. Like, like if you really want asses in the stands, like I get it. You get these promotionals and all this other stuff. I understand how business works, but also I know what competitiveness looks like.
Yeah.
That does not look like it. Why is it that the A's, the Astros, and all that, or even for God's sakes, the Rangers make the postseason and you don't?
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible. That's the worst resume you could ever put on yourself if you're running the Angels. That's where they really need to turn this around. And then they go and get Joe Madden. Then they go and get a new GM. Like, you guys really trying to save yourselves?
Yes.
Like, you're saving jobs?
Clearly.
But
exactly
the
what it
worst thing about
is.
it is that they've had perennially one of the, if not the best, a generational, a Mickey Mantle type player, and to not be able to get him to the playoffs is a huge indictment on that whole organization. The day Mike Trout decides to say, I cannot play here anymore, trade me, they cannot say anything. They have to say, where do you want to go? Because we failed you time and time and time again. Because his career can't go forever.
Yeah,
like,
they will
and
fail
if he
him
never makes it
miserably.
to the playoffs and does anything, at what point can you start to say Mookie Betts was a better player than him because Mookie Betts helped take teams to the championship and deliver in big games? He'll never have the opportunity to deliver in a big game to help his legacy.
And you know what's so funny is I looked at jersey sales, and you want to know where Mike Trout is? He's 10th.
Really?
He's 10.
Number one is Betts and like Lindor.
Number two is Bellinger. Number 3 is Tatis.
Yeah.
And then you have Lindor. You have Lindor at 4, and then Kershaw at 5.
You know what? He needs to change his jersey number so he can get his sales back up.
Yeah, no shit, right? Number 2, I feel like this is going to be one of those, cat dog fights. But I feel like the Houston Astros, this is also one of those close game edges, but I feel like the Astros will finish up second in the AL West because this is also without Garrett Cole. They might still hang on with Justin Verlander, but I'm wondering when. And then you have Zach Greinke as well. But they do have some decent arms. They do have decent arms there, but it's that lineup. Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez. You still have some bats in the lineup that can make some serious noise. But it's one of those tough stretches when you look at this rotation and outside of that how consistent can they truly be? And listen, I know we've got old and dusty back in managing. I
think the Astros are a little underrated right now because you're still talking about Bregman, who's still one of the best hitters in the game. You still have a guy like Kyle Tucker, who I feel like is really going under the radar as a young prospect who I think he could be one of the top, 10 to 15 outfielders in the game between his speed and his power production. And I think one of the big things that you have to look at with them also is like they have the Javier kid, they have Wilmer Valdez. They have a couple of these young pitching prospects last season who came out and delivered way better than I could have ever expected. So if they get somewhat of that repeat, I think that their rotation might hold up a little bit better than the Athletics. Maybe not at the top end because I do think Luzardo might be the best guy in the division. But after that, I think that they can start matching up. And I think offensively, they're a little bit better than the Athletics. But I do think like you said, it's going to be a tight matchup, and it's going to be who comes down to making the trades or getting the next piece that they need to fill the puzzle. Because I feel like both the Athletics and the Astros are incomplete teams. They need another piece or two for them to really be competitive.
No, absolutely. I mean, I agree because if for them to be a complete team, they've got to have at least those right pieces because Houston would be a complete team, but
if Verlander was back even.
Yeah.
Like if you told me I'm getting Verlander from the start of the season, plus I have Greinke, and now I only need 3 kids to get me through the season, and you got Lance McCullers, I could do that. Especially with that offense, you got Presley in the back end of the rotation. They're not that bad. But if you don't have Verlander, you don't have Cole, and now you're telling me Greinke's your number 1, and I need kids to fill, and I got McCullers at 2, and I need kids filling in from 3 to 5. That's when I say it's a toss-up. But if they have a healthy Verlander, they win this division easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So finally, my number 1, it's definitely the Oakland A's that win this division because here's the thing about it: the A's are sneaky at times. They really, really are, because this is a team that can catch fire very easily, and they know where their strengths are. Now, the rotation is going to be very interesting for me, but here's what I'm getting. I got Frankie Montez back. I've got Sean Manaea, that hoping that he's going to really step things up with his slider and his breaking ball, because he needs to. That's just the type of pitcher he is. Chris Bassett, I thought, had a good campaign in a short season from being 5-2 with a 2.29 ERA. He really stepped some things up, and I was just like, okay, now he's nabbed the opening day starter. I'd like to see how that comes around during, the middle of the stretch. But the other arms that I really am excited to see, because I'm getting consistency in the bullpen with Jake Diekman, giving me good quality innings. But the other parties, Yusmeiro Petit, AJ Puck, questionable about Trevor Rosenthal, but they need to stop throwing Lou Trevino everywhere. Put him in the damn 8th inning seriously. He's known for 8th. Don't take him out of there. Cole Irvin, I think, is going to be an interesting name for sure. But the ones I really like to see is Dalton Jeffries, James Caprillion,
James Caprillion,
and yeah,
that's the Yankee guy, right?
Yep, and JB Wendelken. I think those are some real good arms that I think this pitching rotation, because this is also a bullpen that was the second lowest in baseball. Because you had the Rays that were really good, Dodgers that were good, and the Astros last year. And this A's team with this bullpen, this is why I'm like, Angels, take notes.
But then here's my question to you: with no Liam Hendricks there this season, and now you go into a Trevor Rosenthal, do you really trust Trevor enough to think that they'll be able to maintain that top 5 standing in the bullpen?
No, but here's the thing: you make that closer role serviceable. Because they did this before. They did this years ago when they had Ryan Cook. They had Ryan Cook. They had Sean Doolittle. They had
Doolittle.
Yep. Yeah, and then once even they had Grant Balfour at one point, until they started to get guys like Liam Hendricks at one point. So they're going to make it serviceable again. But again, it could be either one of these guys, Dalton Jeffries.
Offense to come through, because I feel like with that team, like you said, their pitching staff, they have a lot of questions. Where you can man and deliver on that slider. Now
let me tell, Lynn. Let me tell you why I don't think the offense is going to be complete concern to me. Let me just tell you this, because when I look at this lineup, I could build this up for you top to bottom. But I look at this lineup, my leadoff guy, it's got to be Ramon Laureano, or you put Tony Kemp there to start things off, because I need speed. Number 2, I'm definitely putting Elvis Andrus there at 2, because that's a guy that's going to follow up, or if he's not working well, you put him either in 6 or 7. Number 3 hitter, it has to be Matt Chapman, because Matt Chapman does literally everything. He is a vacuum at third. He's a guy that's really good with his stick, because the guy to follow up with him is Matt Olson. That's a guy that's going to be a cleanup hitter. He's a guy that they're pacing for him to hit a bunch of home runs this year. Number 5, this is what's crucial for me. But number 5, I'm putting Stephen Piscotty in there, because Piscotty is a guy that can do a lot of things. He's my second best hitter in that lineup amongst the third. And he's a guy that's going to spray the ball everywhere. I watched him do this stuff in St. Louis. And the second he comes into Oakland, he's going to have a much better season, hopefully healthier. But the breakout guys, Chad Pinder is going to be one guy that I do see as a serviceable bat. Same with Mark Canha. Now I was really interested in that Mitch Moreland deal, because I'm like, okay, maybe this will be better for Mitch Moreland, because he's used to AL West. He was a Texas Ranger at one point. And I think using his services and how he does well is one that's going to be really good. But the good ones are the catcher tandem between Aramis Garcia and Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy's making noise at either the 6 or 7 hole. And that's a guy that's really going to put up the good power bat and is really going to start to reload this lineup. So that's why I'm not as concerned with this offense, because knowing that if I put Tony Kemp at the 9th or at the 1st, he's my reloader. He's a guy that's just going to slap a ball, get on base. Yep, he's versatile. So that's where I'm like, I know what I could do with this lineup, and I've seen them do it so many times. There's always been some breakout guys, but young guys like Austin Allen, I do see coming up and be a real good name for himself in this lineup. Seth Brown, I watched a couple times, even watching him here in Vegas with the Aviators.
No.
He was really good. And I was so like, a year ago, or 2 years ago, I was so excited when they had Jorge Mateo because I watched him play here. That motherfucker was fast. Like, I am serious. He was fast, and he had a stick that he just like, okay, I'm getting a base hit, and I'm going to go and take a triple. But the other part, and it was so unfortunate because I did like Dustin Fowler. I watched his approach, and the only thing that I could say is Dustin just hit that mid-outside pitch.
Yeah.
That's because the way he approaches is just whip it. That's the only thing he does for a lefty.
Now, do they still have Chris Davis there?
No, he's with Texas because that was with that Elvis Andrus trade.
That was a blight on their offense last season. Just even having to keep him in that DH spot, he was not hitting at all.
Yeah.
He had a huge power struggle. So I mean, I think that, like you said, perennially, I think one of the best things about the Athletics, even if they don't necessarily hit, they get on base because of that money ball type system where even a guy like Piscotty, he may not hit the best, but his on base percentage is going to be significantly higher than a lot of other guys that you could plug in there, especially when you look at a guy like Davis, where I think that they can be, viable. But I think a lot's going to come down to how that rotation plays.
Right.
Because, this offense, I feel like they're going to be good, but not great. So they're going to need the pitchers to come through and be solid. They've perennial had, good bullpens, which have helped them, win close games. But I mean, if we watch the games versus the White Sox, those were close games. It was pitching duels. So,
and remember, because this was also a postseason that gave us a best of three.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I'm just like, I was so excited about that because the wild cards honestly should be treated like that. You can't make the perfect lineup in one night. You can't. And that's where I felt like, because Bob Melvin's already coming into his 12th season with his team. And this is where it's like, you either are showing up or it's just going to be the same old Moneyball effect. They just make noise. They're exciting. And then they just give players away. I mean, it was unfortunate with the Marcus Semien thing, but
that's a big blow to me. I feel like, because he was big for them last year.
He really was. And here was what was funny. You want to talk about not just the offense, but look at the defensive, like the amount of errors was less. It was like an errorless team. The infield was really doing well, and that was all just by Semien there at short, where he was just playing his position. So that is going to be a huge hit for the A's. They're
gonna get hit during the regular season too when Chapman gets traded to the Mets. Just saying.
And here's what's the other.
Chapman's been struggling though the spring training so far, but I mean perennially he's not the best batting average guy. But
but he'll catch fire at some point.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
we saw this last year. I mean, before he went down with that injury, oh man, he was on fire with him and Matt Olson. That's where I was just like,
I don't know if they have enough offense to beat these Astros, because if you're talking about a healthy Jordan and you're talking about a healthy Tucker and a healthy Correa and a healthy Altuve and a healthy Bregman, I mean, you're talking about 4 potential MVP candidates there between, Bregman, and you have Jordan. Jordan, when he's healthy, he's probably the second best hitter, after maybe the third best, because Ohtani is like on some next level hitting.
Oh, dude can hit, man.
Oh, yeah, dude can really
says.
Like I'm really shocked. Like I've never seen a two-way player. I mean, obviously because they don't let
none of us have.
Ways, but
none of us have.
Like the way what he's doing, it's like I would hope that some of these guys in college who can hit and pitch get an opportunity to do what he's doing, because this kid is phenomenal. He's a prodigious talent, but again, like you said, the Angels, they just who knows what they're doing. They get players to get players, and they go nowhere.
That's where I'm just like, are you just trying to get ticket sales, or what the hell are you doing? That's where I'm just like, if you really want to be competitive in this West, like you just have to be able to plug in the right spots.
Yeah.
So that's what I have it at, sitting at Seattle, Texas, Angels, Astros, A's.
All right. So now we are going to our final division, the NL West, where we have the Dodgers winning the division, the Padres not too far behind. Well, kind of, sort of, but they're going to squeak in second place. Diamondbacks third, San Francisco Giants fourth, and last place will be the Colorado Rockies. I truly believe with the way that San Diego has built what they've built over the last year that they could definitely be a legit contender this year, especially with that big money contract that Tatis just recently signed.
Left side's heavy.
Hell yeah, it's heavy.
I'll just keep saying it when I'm up over
$500 million
there.
contract.
I mean, Hotspur's not making no slouch of a contract either.
Nah.
Oh dear God, no!
The entire
outfield is insane.
The entire infield's contract is valued at $800 million.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I'm not even joking. Like, that's the exact number. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, it's close to $1 billion. Yeah.
Like, and Hotspur was the first domino they got. They said, okay, we're going to start building this back. Like, see, to me, if you watch the way the Padres did this, they were so smart because they had the prospects because they were sucked for so bad. So what do? They get Hotspur, and he's the culture bringer. And then they keep Will Myers there, and he's another guy that's been consistently good. Then what do? They say, okay, we'll spend on Machado, even though people think that it's a year too early. He was horrible that first year, but then Tatis came up, and then all of a sudden now you're looking at a team that's now able to make moves, and like they have young prospects in order to make moves. Now they have young, stable veteran, or not young, stable veterans, but Machado's not that old, but he's a veteran at the same time. And I think that's the perfect guy to put with the Tatis because he can lead by example. But I think that's how you build a team. What they did, the Angels need to take notes.
I'm looking forward to playing the show with them.
Now, here's what's going to be funny because this might actually be a little bit of a reality check because I've also seen this too. But looking at it from the bottom, the Arizona Diamondbacks, I see them finishing 5th. I mean, this is a team that, like, even though that they are getting some young guys coming up, and I still get some veterans like Ketel Marte, David Peralta, and a couple others. I just feel like there were some that's just like it's a little bit of location error for me with just the rotation, but bullpen is working. You're like bullpen is working its hardest to really kind of be better, but I just feel like down the stretch, the offense outside of Marte and Peralta and Nick Ahmed. Like, I'm going to need at least a little more. I'm going to need more firepower. And that's where I'm like, they've lost that the second that Paul Goldschmidt goes to St. Louis. So that's where it's like, okay, something needs to happen here. Like, you're not going to get the best offense out of Arizona like you did when you had JD Martinez. That was one that was probably the best acquisition right there.
And I think one of the big letdowns to them is that when Zach Gallen got that fracture in his arm, because he was going to be one of their big time starters, and he was a really good player for them. So I think that just alone kind of devastated.
And mind you, you had Zach Godfrey and you also had Robbie Ray. I was like, okay, this is going to be one of those middle of the pack teams that could make noise or they could sneak in somehow, and then it's just like they went backwards. So. 4th is the Colorado Rockies. And like they got Kyle Freeland that I know that I'm like, okay, he can be good to really kind of pitch around. And even who was it?
Marquez.
Yep. Marquez.
He's good on the road.
Yeah. He's good on the road.
Yeah.
But the only superstar now that I have to rely on is Trevor Story. That's the only guy that I have to rely on. Like, you're telling me Ryan McMahon's going to give you more runs. You're going to tell me Raimel Tapia. He's only going to give you the speed and the hits. But this Rockies,
they have Garrett Hampson, who I think this year is going to be set to break out. I think that's going to be a guy that they're really going to have to rely on, a former top prospect. But, with Brandon Rogers being out and with him giving him that speed and power combination, I think he's the name to watch out for that offense that actually might shock a lot of people and deliver, really good production.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see there. And that's why I'm just like, this has been a wrap for the Rockies for a long time now. I mean, you think about the talents that they've wasted: Andres Galarraga, Matt Holliday, Troy Tulowitzki, Nolan Arenado. Now you got Trevor Story right there on that same mix. And even when they had a pitching rotation with Ubaldo Jimenez, and a couple of these guys, they didn't build upon it, which is sad because you think of a team that punched their ticket in the postseason. I was interested to see how they were going to play out, but that long game against the Cubs, that's where you're just like, okay, something is not right here. And that's where
I think they just have horrible ownership because
They do. They have horrible
the owner
ownership.
took
One
it
of
on
the guys.
himself as being one of the biggest reasons why Nolan left. And in that Nolan Arenado deal, they ate most of the money and they got virtually no profit. They basically
got
gave away
fleeced.
Nolan Arenado because he was unhappy for so long there and got nothing back for one of the top players in the league.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think it's hard to see them doing anything when management is running a team like that. I think that they're probably going to end up selling Story before the deadline because if they don't, that's moronic.
And again, it's sad because you're also, like I said, you had Andres Galarraga, you had Vinny Castilla, you had Todd Elton, you had so
Larry
many
Walker.
oh my God, you had all these
back in the day.
Yep, Larry Walker was
Good
such a
God,
badass after
man.
Montreal, dude.
Mhm.
Like that's where it's just like it's such a disappointing franchise. But again, it always is about who your owner is, who your GM is, and that's what's going to predict how your future of your franchise is going to run.
The
Sanford
Rockies are the Angels of the NL.
Yeah, no shit, right? So third is the San Francisco Giants. Look, they always seem to surprise me at any time. Now, Buster Posey's back. Buster Posey's going to be playing for a full season. And that is where it's like, okay, there's our leader in the lineup. Brandon Belt, you're still getting some longevity out of him. Mike Yastrzemski, I was really interested to see how he's going to perform. I think he's going to be a real good kid. Donovan Solano really caught my attention as far as small ball hitting. He was like a guy I could put in a 2-hole that he could just get things going. But this was a long time for Donovan Solano. My God, Miami and a couple of places, I was just like, dude, this guy's not going to make it, man. This guy's going to be disappointing. Then he just like made it happen for me, this past season, for as short as it was. But I think San Francisco, the rotation is going to be questionable. Bullpen, I think, is going to be maybe intermediate, but that's a team that I do kind of finish middle of the pack at third. Number 2, it's the San Diego Padres. Now, here's where I'm going to really enlighten you with this. The Padres did this before. You know how big, how rant and raving they were about getting James Shields. And then you go and get Will Myers. Then you go and get Justin Upton, BJ Upton. And then where they end up? They were not such a good team. I'm not saying this is the type of team that they're going to be like that, but let's not get into the hype. Let's just slow ourselves down here. I love Tatis. Machado's a prima donna, but he's such a damn good player. I've always loved Eric Hosmer since Kansas City. But if you really want to piss off the Dodgers, you got to play this thing right. This is where they were just getting all these acquisitions like Mark Melancon and their bullpen and Blake Snell and Yu Darvish, and now they have Mike Clevenger and Mike Paddock. I'm like, okay, they're stepping on the boot a little bit. So I'm just like,
they were great though.
They were great, yeah.
Like I think one of the biggest things that they have going for them is they have so many prospects that they can still use for anything. But their offense, I mean, they still got Tommy Pham, who I think is a really underrated outfielder. You got Trent Grisham, who's another underrated outfielder.
Jurickson Profar.
Nola at a potential catcher
Nola,
position, who's a really solid guy. And then their rotation, when you're throwing Paddock as your fourth, I mean, I think Paddock has unlimited upside as a young starter.
He does.
You have Darvish, and I think that rotation is going to be mighty fine. I think that it'll be really interesting to see the battles between the Dodgers and the the Padres, because I think that's what it's really going to come down to. Who does better versus who in that regular season to win that division? It's really going to be great.
And this is what's funny about this, because now the number 1, it's obvious. It's going to be the LA Dodgers, because here's the thing. The Padres were stepping up on their boots, and what did the Dodgers do? Oh, we win a World Series. We've already got Mookie Betts. Come on over, Trevor Bauer. We're just going to get another superstar to piss you off.
Bauer.
And that's all. That's always what the Dodgers will do. They're just like, oh, you think this is easy? We'll just piss you off that way. And an organization with an unlimited farm system, like, my God, it's like they don't have any bad prospects. Now, the only thing is, can Gavin Lux really play in this league? I have yet to see him really do well with that, because this is a guy they even was like after Will Smith is just like, okay, he'll be the next guy up that they need to step him up. Right. They do have at least a couple of other good prospects coming up, but as far as watching this with Walker Buehler and David Price and Trevor Bauer and Clayton Kershaw, they have so much expendability. Yep. That's the difference with that. And that's where it's like you could be versatile with some of these guys, with Bellinger, with, Austin Barnes and Will Smith. They could still put up those runs. I mean, we watched this in 2019. We've seen this in 2020. 2021, I feel like the Dodgers are almost going to have the similar story, but that's where it's just like, who's really more expendable?
I think the scariest part about the Dodgers is you mentioned all those pitchers, and then they still have Brewster Gatterall. You still got Dustin May. You still got Julio Arias.
That's what I'm saying. It's
as
like,
a Yankee fan, I look at that team and I'm scared and jealous at the same time, because it's like, all right, you spent the money on Bauer, but then you're going to call up a Brewster Gatterall who throws 100 miles an hour, and throw him in your bullpen because you don't have space. Like,
nothing wrong with having a pitcher like that in your bullpen.
And listen, here's what I'm going to say: Brewster Gratterall better be your next damn closer.
Yeah,
stop throwing Kenley Jansen everywhere from 6 to 9. Damn it!
But put him with Urias, because he was so good for them in the back end of the rotation last year. He became their de facto closer.
That's the thing. Urias is going to be my long reliever. That's
the thing with them.
No, but that's the thing about long reliever, is because those guys, they could even punch in as starters.
Yeah,
that's where I'm just like, that's why I put him at long reliever, because if I'm getting a shitty game from one of my starters that he only comes out in like the
Tommy Gonsolin's still there, like Jesus
Tommy
Christ.
Tommy Gonsolin, like it's that's what I'm saying. It's so expendable, but that's where I'm just like, you can put. Yeah, so that's where I'm like, as I said, 6 good quality innings. If you can't get it done by the 3rd inning, then Urias can come in at that point as a long reliever, or you could schedule him as a starter at any time and just continuously versatile in the pitching staff. But Gratterall, he has such a good fastball. That's why I'm just like,
who's better between Gratterall, May, and Urias? Like, when you look at those 3 prospects, all 3 of them, I feel like, have ace type stuff, and they're going to be, one of them's in the bullpen, and one of them's going to be a 5.
And an offense that just knows how to put up runs. And then even when you got powers from Max Muncy and a bunch of these guys, it's just like,
Corey Seager looks like he's finally hit that ultimate ceiling that we all thought he could be, as being one of the best shortstops in the game. Because from the playoffs last year to what he's done in spring training this year,
I agree. And you still got versatility from Chris Taylor. And now Mookie Betts is your superstar
as a solid, defense, not the best, but gets you great average, gets those timely base hits. So,
oh man, he still stays as my 3-hitter, because it's just like he knows how to spray the ball right side.
And let's not forget Mookie Betts is there.
Of course not.
But that's the thing about it. That's why it's just like the Padres are having so much fun with this, but it's just like, do you know how expendable we are? I don't think you do. Like, it's like,
that's going to be such a good battle. Like,
it's going to be such a great battle.
It's going to be great.
Because I was just like, okay, we'll ask about this afterwards. But Hammer, Milwaukee Brewers won the fan base.
Oh yeah, we definitely need that talk to Taco about that, because this shit is just.
They should never do. Okay, so here's the story here. Okay, Taco. So MLB on Fox put together a fan base bracket. Okay, and all of these brackets are based upon the best fan bases. Now there's 4 of them. Bracket 1 consisted of the Braves, Mets, Reds, Rangers, Brewers, Phillies, Diamondbacks. Okay. Then bracket 2 was Yankees, Indians, Orioles, Tigers, Pirates, Red Sox, Rockies. 3 was Dodgers, Marlins, Royals, Nationals, Astros, Rays, Giants, A's. And then bracket 4 was Cubs, Padres, Angels, White Sox, Cardinals, Twins, Blue Jays, Mariners. Here's bracket 1 for you, because the Braves had the bye. So between the Mets and the Reds, Mets beat them. And it's obvious, because the Mets have won 2 championships over Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, no knock on them. They had Barry Larkin, Sean Casey, and then further back, Joe Morgan, Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose, Eric Davis. Like, they had some good household names, but Cincinnati, what's really there? There was really not much you could really say about Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay, so I could barely see that with a fan base. We're versus the Mets. I've had Tug McGraw. I've had the kid, Gary Carter. I had Tom Seaver. I had that Mookie. Yeah, I had that Mookie Wilson boot to Bill Buckner over there with that World Series championship. And, Doc Gooden. Like, I've had a fan base with the Mets right there.
Carlos Beltran, as he looks at strike.
Carlos Delgado. Carlos Delgado, bro.
Bobby Bonilla.
Yep, Bobby Bonilla. Like,
he's causing problems now. Stop being an asshole.
But yeah, so it's like I've got a fan base with the Mets now. Rangers, Brewers beat the Rangers. I get it because the Rangers honestly never really had anything as far as history outside of Nolan Ryan, outside of Pudge, and then that stacked team with Hamilton and Cruz and all of them. I didn't have that with all of that for years with the Rangers until they happened. But the Brewers, I've had Robin Yount. I have the legendary Bob Uecker. But the other thing of it is like Prince Fielder, Ryan Braun, Casey McGee. I've had some guys right there in the middle of that mix. So the Brewers, it's understandable. Phillies, Diamondbacks, I have to say the Phillies. The Phillies actually beat them because the Diamondbacks, let's not forget, okay, and let's agree. The 2001 World Series was probably, even though for a loss, that was the greatest World Series I've ever watched. it was because it was for America.
Game 7, like walk-off victory.
Yeah, like you can't be mad at that. Like it was like it had to happen something like that. Like it had to be grinding the teeth type moment. But the Diamondbacks didn't have much until the unit, Kurt Schilling, God,
Young Kim.
Yeah. And then freaking
Young Kim was the shit.
Matt Williams, freaking Mark Grace.
Oh yeah, Mark Grace.
Oh my God, Luis Gonzalez.
Finley, right? He moved over, right?
Yep. And then remember this: Dan Herron, Brandon Webb,
freaking Connor,
Connor Jackson. Like they had some guy, and then Paul Goldschmidt, and then right around that time frame, Justin Upton. So the Diamondbacks had something, but here's the thing with the Phillies history: Mike Schmidt, John Kruk, Mitch Williams, Ryan Howard, Pat the Bat Burrell. Okay, they had Bobby Abreu, Placido Polanco, freaking Pedro Feliz, Jimmy Rollins, Carlos Ruiz, and then not to mention
Roy Halladay.
Roy Halladay, Roy Oswalt, Cole Hamels, Joe Bland. They had a rotation. Yep,
Ryan Howard.
Yep. So here we go with this. So it was the Braves and the Mets. The Braves beat the Mets.
I could see that.
I can look, and I told Hammer I can honestly see this because
this
was a team with Tom Glavine, John Smoltz,
Greg Maddux.
It was good.
They're also on TBS all the time because of their owners, so they got a lot bigger audience.
And and then see that was the thing about their franchise, the fan base, because you can't say you never got intimidated when you heard the chop. They were getting nuts over that, and you had
stop doing that shit.
You had Fred McGriff, you had Andrew Jones, Chipper
Jones.
Yep, David Justice, Javi Lopez. Yep. And then like down the stretch, like you had Freddie Freeman, Jason Hayward. You had some really good guys in this.
Now you got Ozuna, who's gonna carry that fan base to infinity.
Yep, and now Ozuna, absolutely. So then the Brewers and Phillies, the Brewers beat the Phillies. That's where I was just like, no way.
Well, I will say this: the Brewers have one of the dopest stadiums.
I want to go just to go down the slide. I just want to go down the slide
with Bernie Brewer and get myself. But get us some Eucharist.
Are they the one that had the freeze? Who would like run around the ballpark with the
sausage? Yeah.
They have a couple of really cool things. I feel like that make that stadium And are they
Right.
the ones that have like all the wieners that run around and like
Yep.
Yeah, during 7th inning stretch.
I think that's what does it for them because
Yeah.
they're a horrible team.
So that was the thing. The Brewers beat the Phillies up on that one, and now the Braves and Brewers, the one that make the semifinals was the Brewers. I said, "Are you shitting me? Like, you're telling me that they beat the Braves franchise of all teams? Like, no, how?
Well, they're
Team that
perennial
has
chokers.
a team that's never won a World Series.
but
like-
the Braves choke. Like that's
Yeah.
what they do.
Well, here's the thing, though. When you had the 90s of the Braves, that was fun to watch.
Yeah, it
Like,
was.
and this is where it's going to surprise you the most, Taco, because here's bracket 2.
Mhm.
So you had the Indians and the Orioles. Indians win it. I understand it because the Orioles, they did have a championship. And the only thing that I could say is that they had the rotation that had 20 win guys. Jim Palmer, McNelly, like and Cal Ripken Jr. and
Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray. Like, they had some really good guys. They had some real good guys. But when you look at the Indians, they won a championship in 48. But Eddie Matthews, they had like Sandy Alomar. They had Manny Ramirez. They had CC Sabathia, Jim Thome. So
Cliff Lee.
Yep, Cliff Lee. They had some real good guys. And what was so unfortunate was that 93 or 90, I believe it was 93 or 95, that World Series. Yeah, that was not good for them. That was one that just like
wasn't good because that was when Levon Hernandez and Bartolo. I think
my
Bartolo
God,
Colon,
yeah.
that was like the first team that I saw that got bought because they had Sheffield and they had all the guys and
Kenny Lofton was another.
Talk about a
Indians
throwback.
had the worst luck, but they had a good movie. They had Wild Thing.
Yeah, they had
Major
Major League.
My
That's
favorite
Pedro
baseball movie
Serrano.
of all time.
That's
right.
why I can understand them winning. Wild Thing.
So then Tigers and Pirates, the Tigers beat them. Now here's where I look at this with the Pirates. Okay,
No Roberto.
well, I love Jolly Roger, I really, really do. But they've had, and what's interesting because they had 2 World Series championships. We can't forget about the Bill Mazeroski home run against the Yankees. Okay. We can't forget about the Willie Stargell jump when the Pirates ended up winning that World Series. And talk about it. Willie Stargell, Bill Madlock. They had some real good guys. Roberto Clemente.
Ralph Kiner.
Yep. Ralph Kiner. Andrew McCutcheon. Like, this was and even G.I. Jones, Garrett Jones was even a really good guy that, you love to watch.
They had
But
Garrett Cole at one point.
they had Garrett Cole. They had Francisco Liriano. They actually had a decent rotation until it all broke away. But the Tigers, Kirk Gibson,
Miggy.
you had Al Kaline, Miggy. You had Jack Morris. And they win that one World Series, I believe. What was it? It was like in late 70s or so, or early 80s. Like, that was a team that, like, for Motown, once they won that championship, I was like, okay, like, that's an interesting team. But then Miguel Cabrera's Triple Crown, Prince Fielder being there in Detroit, and then also Placido Polanco in the 2006.
Oh, they had Verlander too.
They had Verlander at that time. Yep, against the St. Louis Cardinals. That was actually and Brandon Inge. Good God, Brandon Inge.
That's a throwback name.
That is a God, yeah. And then remember Brendan Bosch?
Brandon Bosch, outfielder?
Yep. Brendan Bosch, left fielder for them. Like, I thought that kid had some serious potential in him, but then he gets traded away. So now we had the Red Sox and Rockies. Red Sox. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's easy.
Because, I mean,
is heavy.
Yeah, it's so heavy with Fat Sloppy, Manny Ramirez,
Sox Nation.
Oh yeah, Sox Nation.
The bloody sock.
But this is why we see
Ted Williams,
Jim Rice,
Babe Ruth.
Yep, Carlton Fisk,
Kurt Schilling.
Oh God, yeah, that bloody sock of his.
Buckner.
I hope he never makes the Hall of Fame.
Oh God, man. But it's been long histories with the Boston Red Sox. So now you have the Yankees, Indians, Tigers, Red Sox. Are you ready for this, Taco?
Indians beat the Yankees?
Yep.
Wild Thing.
No. You can't defeat
Major League has to be the reason.
You can think about who have the Indians ever had that you could say, like, we have Babe freaking Ruth.
But
we have Derek freaking Jeter.
But hold on a second.
I didn't even know this.
You
thing was
guys
going
watched
on.
Anger Management, right?
Yeah, of course.
The second that you got Roger Clemens and Derek Jeter and that one skid, you're there with the Yankees.
Goose
Like,
Fraba.
yeah, and New York was like, it's big, it's popping. Like, that's an empire. You can't tell me just from that.
Shut up.
Like, that's the only thing. Long history. Like, here's what's funny, Taco. I remember meeting a guy that we was literally like, when I got my Babe Ruth picture framed, that was sitting in the garage for 15 years. Okay. And never been framed. When I went to frame it, an older gentleman comes up to me and he's like, "Dad, that's a beautiful picture." I'm like, "Thank you." And he was just like, "I'm going over and having dinner with Don Larson and his wife." I was like, "Wait, Don Larson that threw a perfect game in the freaking World Series?" I was like, "No shit." It was freaking awesome. There's so many. That's why I'm like, I have the Yankee stuff for a reason, because there were memories behind it.
Yeah.
And that was just me being a kid, loving baseball and watching it. So
one of my favorite Yankee memories was the David Cone perfect game, because Don Larson was at that game that he threw.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, dude.
Yankee lore is just the best.
Yeah, and that's why I'm just like, how? So the Tigers and the Red Sox, the Red Sox beat the Tigers. The championships, I mean, Beantown. Now it comes down to Red Sox Indians. And the Red Sox made it into the semifinals, as it should have, honestly. Because the Indians
didn't hold up?
Because here's the thing. The Indians had opportunities, 93, 2016. You couldn't get the job done. Like, you choked it at times. To where, like, the Indians, like, you had to rely on guys like Justin Masterson and Matt Laporta and freaking, like, some of these.
So you're telling me the Indians can beat the Yankees, but the Indians can't beat the Red Sox?
See, do you understand? Do you understand that bullshit? I was like,
I was expecting them to at least beat the Red Sox. Then
that was what was bullshit. So now we're at bracket 3, Dodgers, Marlins. Oh yeah, Dodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, the Marlins had 2 championships from 97 and 2003. I mean, the Edgar Renteria base hit, Trail Willis, the D train. We got introduced to that. Yes.
One of the best.
Oh my God. Miguel Cabrera, the youngest kid at his age to winning a World
Kevin
Series.
Brown.
Yep. Josh Beckett and Pudge Rodriguez.
Beckett.
God,
AJ
yeah.
Burnett.
Oh yeah. AJ Burnett. Like, that was, and then you look at the one team, Cody Ross, Hanley Ramirez, Josh Willingham, freaking Jorge Cantu.
That was a tough loss.
That was such a tough loss.
That was a tough loss.
But they had some good histories. But the Dodgers, though, I mean, it's been a long time running with them, and now they have 7 championships. They've had long years, like from Brooklyn to LA.
7.
And, yeah, 7. Royals, Nationals. The Nationals beat the Royals. So this is where I kind of understand this, because the Nationals as the Senators. I mean, Walter Johnson. I mean,
the Nationals as the Montreal Expos.
Yeah, the Montreal Expos. That's where you kind of get more of the histories too, because of Vlad Guerrero, Larry Walker, Gary Carter. Yep. You had
but the
Randy
Royals
Johnson.
Were one of those teams, though. Like,
I know, because with Brett Saberhagen, George Brett in the '85 World Series, and then 15 when you had Hosmer and freaking Moustakas.
How many blown saves could the Mets have in one series? Like, I can't. These guys are one of the best clutch hitting teams in the history. Like, every single time, it was when the closer came out, I knew the game was back on. Oh my God, it was great.
But it's like when I watched I can't begin to tell you, the 2014 World Series between the Giants and Royals made me love baseball so fucking much, because that kids is baseball. That is how you fucking play baseball. None of this home run shit. Like, small ball freaking work. They didn't care.
Chick stick the long ball, bro.
Oh my God. But here was the thing. They had home run hitters, but they didn't have to use it all the time. All they had to do was situational hitting. When you have a shift, hit the line
anymore.
or
It
bunt.
sucks so
They
bad.
need to do away with that shift now. Like seriously,
really
and
need
they're
to.
they're on the
Learn
verge
how
of
to
doing
hit the
it
ball
too.
to the opposite side of the field. Let them shift wherever they want. Learn how to hit the ball properly.
I'm sorry, but I got to give some positive hopes. But for all of our hockey fans up out there, the Buffalo Sabres just snapped their 18-game winless streak.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
It finally happened. They beat the Penguins 6-1. Oh my
God!
God!
Why?
My God.
What the? Oh my God! Why am I not surprised?
In Buffalo, I felt like they were like, I don't know, like
They're
Buffalo.
sorry ass. They are sorry ass.
They had the goaltender that was in like the Olympic team or whatever.
Yeah,
Miller.
Olmark. Yeah,
Like-
Miller. Yep.
Like he was great, and then I feel like Buffalo had like the thrill. Everyone was like Buffalo, and then
Taylor Hall is overrated.
yeah,
Taylor Hall is overrated.
God
Jeff
damn
Skinner, unfortunately, fell off a cliff.
How often does Buffalo have a better football team than hockey team? That's weird, man.
I'm mind boggled by it. So Astros Rays, the Rays beat the Astros. Now,
That's dumb.
in defense, let me just tell you this: the Astros for years, they were not a great team. They were not a great team. They were only known for unis until
Bagwell.
the Long Island Kid with Craig Biggio, then freaking
Jeff
Jeff
Bagwell,
Bagwell,
David
Billy
Bell,
Wagner, David
Billy
Bell,
Wagner, Lance
Carlos
Berkman,
Beltran,
Carlos
Lance Berkman.
Beltran. But
Yup.
also, you have to take into consideration the Bad News Bears when they played in the Astrodome. You have to take into consideration Towers Hill. You have to take into consideration the Houston Astrodome, the eighth wonder of the world. Like that shit
And
blew
here-
my
and
mind.
here's
man.
why
Take into
people-
consideration the cheating scandal, the number one garbage can bangers.
Oh, God,
Yep.
Just leave that alone.
Yep, exactly. But here's the thing about the Rays, because the Rays were in. Let me just tell you, kids, this for those that look at history, but they were established in 1998. Thank you to George Steinbrenner, who put in a little bit of a little thank you to Bud Selig and did him a favor of getting a franchise into Florida. So it was easy enough for him to watch the Yankees in Tampa at Tropicana Field, so that, that way then he didn't have to travel to New York every time. So it was like he did him a favor. But when they were the Devil Rays, they did have Wade Boggs. They did have Wade Boggs. Now, they were not the great team, but until they changed their name to the Rays, Carlos Pena happened. BJ Upton happened. Evan Longoria, Ben
Fred
Zobrist,
McGriff.
Cliff Floyd, Eric
Evan
Hinsky.
Longoria.
Yep, Eric Hinsky. They had David Price. Then at one point they had James Shields, the working horse, Chad Bradford, Grant Belfour,
Rocco Baldelli,
Willie Ibar. Oh my God, Willie Ibar.
Wasn't Joey Votto there at one point too?
No, he wasn't.
No, he's been a Red.
Not
his whole life.
Votto. Who am I thinking? Not Votto. Who the hell am I thinking of?
Chris Archer, because he came back.
No, it was a catcher.
Yeah, right.
Catcher.
Oh my God, Deanna Navarro.
Navarro was there.
Then they have Travis Darno for a little bit for like half.
They
of
did.
the
They
season.
did have him
Went
for a
to the
little
Braves.
bit. Yep.
That was such a bad let go by the Mets. Travis Darno.
Jason Bartlett, Akinori Iwamura. I hadn't even seen that name after the next season.
Franco, which is going to be amazing when he comes up. That kid.
Oh
is
yeah.
special.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
That'll be interesting. But yeah,
winning anything.
those were considerates. But this was a good matchup. Giants against the A's. What's interesting to me is that the Giants beat the A's. Here's the way I look at this, because in defense, the A's have had a long history, 9 championships. Now, they did go from Philadelphia to Kansas City to Oakland. And even though they've won championships with Connie Mack and Jimmy Fox was the first to end up getting the Triple Crown. The other part of this is 72, 73, 74. If Charlie Finley didn't fuck that up, they would have still been a legendary franchise next to the Yankees and the Dodgers and all of them. And Jose Canseco, Ricky Henderson, Mark McGuire.
We got 2 guys from them. Didn't they have Goose Gossage, and they had Reggie Jackson, right?
Yeah,
they had Reggie Jackson. They also had Catfish Hunter and Raleigh Fingers.
Hunter, that's what I was thinking.
Carney Lansford over there at third. freaking who else was it that was, oh my god, it was such a Dennis Eckersley, like one of their damn top closers. They had some really good guys. And then the 2006 year, they had Eric Chavez, Houston Street. They had, or even the 2002 Moneyball team. When you had,
they had the pitching staff with Zito, Hudson, Mulder.
Yeah,
they were expected to be one of the top flight staffs for a while. They all broke down.
And they all just broke down. Yeah. But here was the thing about the Giants. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. The only thing that you have when they were the New York Giants was that home run off the Brooklyn Dodgers that made everybody go nuts. The time they won the championship in 54, then comes, the Barry Bonds home runs, JT Snow,
Rich Aurelia.
Rich Aurelia, freaking Aaron Rowan.
Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda won that title, baby.
Yep, Kung Fu Panda, Buster Posey.
Bumgarner was actually like a legit starter.
Madison Bumgarner.
They had
Matt
Lincecum.
Yep, Tim Lincecum
was a monster.
Now he's a bum.
Matt Cain. Yeah. Oh my God, Matt Cain fell off a freaking cliff.
There's so many players.
But then it was Bruce Bochy. That was the only thing. 3 championships in 5 years. That's but see, this was what was one that was a knock because I was like, they won 3 championships in 5 years. A's went back to back to back. They had all 3 years. They could have gotten a 4th one. They could have done like the Last Dance had Charlie Finley not messed this up. Like that was the real reality. So Dodgers Nationals, Dodgers beat the Nationals because it's a bigger brand and they had more and more histories, championships. Rays, Giants, the Rays.
So the Rays are like up here, and the Yankees lost in the second round to the Indians.
Now, here's what's really going to surprise your mind.
Gets better.
The Dodgers and the Rays from last year's World Series. The Rays beat the fucking Dodgers.
I can understand that. You're upset at the Dodgers.
No, I can't.
But people are lashing out at the Dodgers for what happened. So they're going to the Rays. I can see that.
And that's not the Dodgers' fault for Kevin Cash pulling off a freaking Dave Roberts in the World Series. That's not their fault. That's not their fault.
Like, yo, how do you take Snell out?
but a second empire to the freaking baseball universe. How does that happen? Like, the Dodgers are so big in the West Coast. There are some in the East Coast that you see. How? They are like the second coming to the Cowboys of their franchise. Because the Yankees are the empire. They're like the Cowboys. You see them everywhere in a general store. Yeah. The Dodgers are second coming. And it's like, how? But you don't see Rays shit everywhere.
Yeah, these are not real fans. These are Twitter fans. These people don't understand baseball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now the other bracket, Cubs, Padres. Yep.
Yeah.
I said, how? Because first and foremost, here's the open reality about the Padres. The Padres were shit. Okay? They were only known for those god-awful unis that literally looked like somebody's shit.
But you had Billy Goat.
You had a young Ozzie Smith.
You had the Goat. You had Bartman. You had
the Cubs are known for bad
Gaylord Perry.
Like, come on, Gaylord Perry, Bad News Bears. Like, it all doesn't work.
But then you had Tony Gwynn, Trevor Hoffman. You had Ken Caminiti.
Caminiti.
Oh my God, yeah.
The dude was a shit.
I was reading something about Gwynn where he like never got struck out by like Maddox or like
never.
This dude is like Gwynn is one of the most underrated hitters. I feel like
he didn't have to do anything but just hit.
Yeah. He's like a modern day Ted Williams. That's the closest thing we'll see to Ted Williams again.
I agree, but it was just like you're talking about another like one of the 5 power teams in baseball. 109 years until they won a World Series, and they had Ron Santo, Ryan Sandberg. They had Andre Dawson. They had Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout game.
But the Padres got Fernando Tatis Jr.
But that's new.
That's
not even broken in yet. Like
he's literally become
Sammy
the face
Sosa's home runs. Like
he's become the face of baseball.
Derek Lee.
in
Derek
143.
Lee, Giovanni
freaking
Soto,
That was
like Starlin Castro when he started.
Alfonso Soriano.
Yep, Alphonse, freaking Spider Monkey. Good God, yeah.
Like,
Oh my
that was
God,
one of
that
my
fucking
favorite guys right there.
thing, like that fucking thing. That's like I don't even know how he does that. Yeah,
I'm
have you
so
seen
excited
him?
that he's going to be in
he
MLB The
beat-
Show.
Did you see him recently? He beefed up.
Oh, really?
He beefed up. He is not the skinny Spider Monkey we remember, dude. He beefed
Is
up.
jacked or fat?
No, he grew some pounds. Like he's mixture of jacked and fat. But
He's a little in
more Frank
between.
Thomas than A-Rod.
So Angels, White Sox. I understand this because the Angels, you had Angels in the outfield. You had literally the angel in the outfield, Jim Edmonds, in his freaking catch. Who was the first fish, mind you? Tim Salmon.
Yeah.
Before Trout came along.
Salmon,
Troy
Trout,
Loss.
Trumbo, Pujols, Gloss.
Freaking John Lackey, which he was always lacking.
John Lackey. I hate
Oh my
him.
God. That postseason game where he's like, it's my fucking game. So
his face always used to make me want to punch it. There was just something about him.
Yeah.
Just,
Eric, oh my God, Eric Ibar was a sorry ass.
Who was the center fielder they had that was so good? I forgot his name.
Oh,
I don't want to say Jim Edmonds.
It is Jim Edmonds because he made that miraculous catch. That's where he got his name known before going to St. Louis.
Yes, that is.
Sean Figgins.
Yeah,
Sean Figgins,
the stolen base magnet over there.
Yeah, that was crazy. Garrett Anderson, Vlad Guerrero, and that
Garrett Anderson is an underrated bat. Troy Percival.
Yep, Troy Percival. Oh yeah, but that 2002 team, dude, was like how they beat the freaking Giants like just that easily.
Because Barry don't get no love.
Now, White Sox, the shoeless Joe Jackson scandal, the 2005 World Series with Scott Pasednik, AJ Pierzynski, Paul Konerko. Oh God, yeah. I mean, and they had the worst unis in the 80s with those freaking Shorty McShort shorts, those collared tees. What the hell were those freaking unis, dude? And then let's not forget the punch that AJ Pierzynski delivered the blow against the Cubs because they don't like each other at all. That was the best rivalry moment right there.
I hated AJ.
Oh my God.
That's why he went to wrestling.
And then let's not forget the greatest manager that ever lived, Ozzie Guillen.
Oh my God, that guy is good.
Wait, what? What?
Ozzie Guillen.
That dude was a wild man.
I
forgot there was one player that he came out just like bashed him, said he was like trash or something.
Oh my God.
I think he does the post game now for the White Sox, Guillen, right?
Oh man.
Ozzie Guillen is a shit. I don't care what anybody says.
Ozzie Guillen is absolutely.
Yeah, I would have played for that dude in a heartbeat.
Really? Oh hell to the! And then by the way, they also nabbed it away with Bo Jackson before Kansas City. That was the other thing I forgot about Kansas City is nobody knew Bo the second he came to Kansas City. So yeah, Cardinals Twins. Here's what's memorable about the Twins because Twins had Harmon Killebrew. They also had Kirby Puckett, the 91 World Series in that Metrodome. Oh my God, that's another ballpark, the fucking Metrodome.
The Triple H Dome.
The Triple H Dome. The year they had Jason Kubel, Michael Kadire, Joe Mauer, Justin Morneau. Nobody knew Morneau like Morneau knows Morneau.
Morneau and Bauer used to. I mean, Joe Mauer used to be like
they crushed it, and then Jason Kubel out of nowhere just starts it. And Michael Kadire, I loved his stance, dude. I loved his swing as two hands. Like that guy had a hell of a swing.
They had Torrey Hunter.
Simple. They did have Torrey Hunter with his Spider-Man catch. Yep. And Torrey Hunter right there.
I'm looking at that Cubs White Sox brawl right now. Pierzynski freaking barreled over.
Literally gave the crushing blow.
He ran over Michael Barrett, and Barrett gets a hold of Pierzynski and just sucker punches the shit out of him. Like, bro.
Oh my God!
Holy
and they
shit.
went nuts.
Yeah,
they went
I'm looking at it right now. This
nuts.
is insane.
But yeah, I mean the Twins had some players, even Alexi Casilla. And then you come all the way down to this year. Remember Scott Diamond? They didn't even have a rotation as much, but they had Scott Diamond, they had Jack Morris, they had Chuck Knobloch. Oh God, yeah.
Chuck.
Oh God,
Chuck
that was
dude.
Taco's all-time favorite second baseman /
Honestly,
outfielder.
Listen, he was really good
on the
until he
Yankees.
got the yips.
Yeah,
he was a
did.
really rookie of the year type guy. Great batting average. Has one of the all-time classic stances with like the way his bat would be. But I mean, he was great.
And let's not forget about the one movie, Little Big League.
Ooh,
Yep, that's true.
Yep, with the Twins.
That was a good movie.
But the Cardinals, they had Stan the Man, they had Bob Gibson, they had Ozzie Smith, they had Adam Wainwright and Chris Carpenter. Yachty, Albert Pujols, Mark McGwire in his race for home runs to 70, the year he broke Roger Maris's record.
Tatis Senior,
Tatis Senior, yep, and Fernando
Edmonds.
Oh my
Darryl
God,
Kyle,
Fernando Vina.
Yep,
fucking
squad back in the day, bro.
That was literally like just
is that where Tatis's dad played, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. Tatis Senior, that was his team.
Tatis Senior, and then even the year of David Freese. We see you tomorrow night, David Freese, dude.
And Scott Rowland was there as well.
Yep, Scott Rowland was up over there. Yeah, there were a lot of memorable names there.
Matt Holliday.
Matt Holliday. I hated that, but I loved that trade because that was where he came. That was funny. It was because he came out of the A's system.
Yeah.
The
A's are great at developing players. They just don't keep them.
But here's the thing: you could thank the Rockies for screwing up that situation with Holiday.
Yeah,
because that's what initially started Troy. That was what initially started Troy Tulowitzki in 2007. So, Blue Jays, Mariners, Blue Jays. Look, Seattle was literally nothing. Seattle was literally nothing until the Griffies. And then once Jay Buhner, you had the unit, you had Ichiro, Edgar Martinez, Tino Martinez. You had a lot of these guys. I was like, this was a ridiculous team in 2001. Best record. Then they lose to the Yankees in that ALCS. That was fun.
Haven't seen the playoffs since.
Yep, they haven't seen that way. They have the longest playoff drought now.
And
they thought Robinson Cano could do it. I remember they had small names like.
Well, for the first time in a long time, they won a trade when they traded, Diaz for Kalinick, and I think Kalinick
fucking go.
But no, realistically, Kalinick is going to be one of the top outfielders in over the next 10 years. He's one of the best prospects in the game right now.
Does he not want to play now, though?
But look at all. But
he wants to play. They're not taking care of him.
But look at all of these young kids, though. Too, we had Mike Zunino at one point. Everybody ran and raved. He didn't do good. Jesus Montero. That they thought this kid was going to be
Julio Rodriguez. They got
J.P. Crawford, Kyle Lewis.
They're gonna be interesting.
Do you remember Dustin Ackley?
Yeah.
Oh my God, the kid from North Carolina who played second base, and then I was like, okay. And then,
I remember when they had Brett Boone holding second base down,
Brett Boone,
being the monster he was, and never doing anything.
Yeah, Brett Boone, man. Oh my God, that brought back a lot.
I remember when the Yankees traded for Aaron Boone from Cincinnati.
Miguel,
who wants this guy?
Felix Hernandez, Miguel Olivo.
Man, Felix Hernandez though is like, I feel so bad for that dude because he gave all his great years to a team that did nothing, and he was an all-time pitcher. Felix,
he really was. He really was. So then the Blue Jays, Joe Carter's home run, Tony Fernandez, Carlos Delgado's 4-homer game,
Joey Bats.
Jose Bautista's 54 homers. Freaking Roy Halladay. Yep, Roy Halladay, Roger Clemens.
Yep.
There was David Wells, Dave Steeb.
David Cohn won a championship with them, I believe, too, right?
Yep, David Cohn from that 92-93 era.
Yep.
That was a hell of
That's right. Cohn left the Mets to win his championship.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my God. Yo, you don't stop, do you?
I mean, it was just correlating points. I just couldn't
correlating my ass, bro. Jesus Christ. Leave him alone.
So you got the Padres and the White Sox. White Sox beat the Padres, which rightfully so. Cardinals, Blue Jays. Cardinals beat the Blue Jays. Still amongst the histories. Yeah, still amongst the histories. White Sox Cardinals. White Sox beat the Cardinals. I still
like the
feel
Cardinals
like
uniform better too.
yeah. So do I. I mean, the
Those
Redbird.
baby blues are interesting.
So get this: when my dad was playing minor league ball, my biological father,
Huh?
I had one of those baby blue Cardinal jerseys
Oh,
where
yeah?
it had his number when he was playing spring training.
Uh-huh.
He was playing with guys like
That's
Chili
cool.
He was playing with Chili Davis.
Chili.
He was actually scouted by Mike Lieberthal's dad.
Wow.
Yeah, Dennis
That's
Lieberthal.
pretty cool.
But my pops, here's what I told Hammer. This was funny as fuck because he was one of the starting catchers in high school at Chaffee over in Cali. And his backup catcher at the time before he became a household name was Mike Sweeney.
Wow.
And you know how Sweeney even got the gig? Because my pops fucked his knee up on a collision at home. And yep. So the second they saw Sweeney, then he became a Royals Hall of Famer.
My God.
Yeah, dude.
It's crazy how life works.
I know, right? It's freaking nuts. But yeah, so the final four became the Red Sox, Rays, Brewers, White Sox. The
Two
finals,
American League East teams and no Yankees.
yeah. And here's where your finals started. Rays and Brewers. That's what I'm saying. The Rays.
So wait, who did the Red Sox face again?
The Rays. Yeah.
So the Red Sox got lost to the Rays?
Yeah.
How does that work?
And then the White Sox lose to the Brewers. And then here's the finals. Brewers and Rays. Brewers win it all.
So the Rays beat the Red Sox, the Rays beat the Dodgers, but they can't beat the Brewers.
Right.
So they beat two of the best teams all time here, Red Sox and Dodgers.
And then you beat a shit. I was just like, is Aaron Rodgers under this fucking shit right now?
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, listen, don't ever put this bracket together ever again.
No.
Don't ever put it.
Twitter exclusive thing?
Because you're telling me that all 5 legendary franchises, Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, notables like the Mets, the A's, and these guys get knocked out like this? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, even the Cards are a legendary team.
The Cardinals are for 11 championships. I was just like, there is no way. This is like near impossible shit. And I was like, it's ridiculous, man.
So Jeff Passan is reporting as of 16 minutes ago, Lindor and the Mets are no closer to contract extension. Sources tell ESPN. No discussions, no workshopping proposals, just staring contest between the star and the organization with a self-imposed deadline.
I didn't want to read that off earlier because I would read things.
It's not happening.
But honestly, I think Lindor is playing this smart because he knows that with the free agency coming up,
the value is going to be a lot higher.
What happened?
The value is going to be a hell of a lot higher, especially with all these shortstops going in the free agency.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think that he might end up signing for a similar number, just with a different team across the river.
Yeah, this could be true.
Oh my God! You know what? That's it. We're done. We're done tonight.
Well, no, only reason why I say that is this: he had been a Yankee fan coming into that. The Yankees were one of the teams that were trying to make a trade for him. He had, kind of probably in his head thought he would be a Yankee before he thought he'd be a Met. And now with the Mets, he wants them to pay. And if not, when you look at it, if you had a chance at the same money to be paid by the Mets and the Yankees, and we see what the Yankees do every offseason, even when their guys are hurt.
That's why I look at Curtis. That's why I look at Curtis Granderson at the time. Detroit wasn't going to pay him that money. The freaking Yankees were going to end up paying him. And then down the stretch, he goes to the Mets because he's New York. He loves it.
Yep.
He loves freaking New York.
Yep. And I think that with Lindor, he knows that honestly the Mets have to pay him, or the Mets are going to then go out and have to pay for another top flight shortstop. But the one thing that Pete Alonso was saying that makes him so valuable is that inside the clubhouse, he's a huge leader. And I think that's where he's going to pay his dividends, and where, they're going to end up paying him this money that he wants, because if he is the leader that Pete is saying and the Mets do anything, he just wrote a bigger check.
Oh, they have less than an hour. I don't think it's happening in the next 53 minutes.
And
realistically,
he wanted $12,385, which is the same yearly salary that he would make if they signed $10,325.
I would have.
Wants a Tatis contract. That's
I would have met him halfway.
At this.
I would have met him halfway. I would have gave 11,360, 365, whatever.
even 12,385 for an owner that has $14 billion, and I
You're
heard
right.
how much
And
money.
this is going to be a very. I'm telling you, he's back on Twitter, right? They're going to eviscerate him tomorrow if this contract isn't done. What?
Here's my question to you, as Met fans, and you know Lindor did not sign the contract extension, and you know the kind of money that they're offering, and you know what New York fans are. How do you think they're receptive to him when he starts coming up? Is he going to get like
I'm already seeing people like in these Met group pages and shit. Like, yo, we are going to boo the shit out of him come opening day. I'm like, oh, great.
That is what I'm afraid of, because I think that the way this is playing out so publicly, and with his numbers being so public, and the Mets putting out, hey, we offered you 10,325, you want 12,385. Now it's a bidding war out in the public.
It's funny that they weren't doing this before. They weren't doing this before when it came to Springer and Bauer until it was too late. So I find it funny now all of a sudden they're making this public. This is supposed to be the first big move that you're making as a new owner of the New York Mets, and you're fucking it up badly. Yeah. Like Cohen's getting eviscerated on Twitter tomorrow. I'm telling you right now. Watch. It's going to happen. I think
that's going to be a horrible play for the Mets franchise, because you could look at the owner getting it on one end and the player getting it on the other.
Because here's what's funny about this. I was telling Hammer, you think the Dodgers hesitated the second they got Mookie Betts? Hell no. They went and got him a long-term contract to ensure he stayed there. And that's where I'm like,
if you're making that trade, wouldn't you have asked the Indians to speak to Lindor's representation about a deal? And then we have a framework that's acceptable. So now it's just ironing out stuff. If you're going to make the move, that's your number one, shortstop type prospect, where you could have just kept him for one more year and signed whoever you're going to sign in the offseason, because that's all that's going to happen now. You're going to just be in free agency trying to sign a guy that you could have signed the year, without giving up the prospects. And I think that's going to make it even worse, that they have to pay him. They literally have to pay him, and they should pay him tonight, so they don't have to worry about this all season. And if they start booing this kid, and he doesn't like it, and he goes to the Yankees or another team in the division, or that's going to be a bad look.
Yeah, that is going to be a terrible look for God.
Well, we are now 50 minutes away from midnight, so
yep.
I'm
so time's ticking, Cohen.
Right, and Lindor's not moving because he knows you got all the money. What are you going to do? Tell me to go to the free agency? That's fine.
I just got here. I literally just got here.
Like, bro, all he knows, he can be like, I'll go play second base for the Padres. They have.
Oh dear God, there's your remaining billion that needs to be filled.
We have a hole at second base. Lindor, come.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, like just pack your bags and come over here, help us out.
Or maybe they finally put in with Trout, because they just love spending money with the Angels. That don't make sense.
Oh God,
I could see them paying him.
Oh God! After what happened with Andrelton Simmons, dude, like they had an opportunity to freaking make it happen.
Lindor. I mean, now you're gonna give Trout his last shot. You have all the other bats there. I could see the Angels as being a great landing spot.
God, I just am like, they just need pitching, dude. I'm like, I could care less. I could care less about those bats unless that pitching works.
Like when they got Rendon, Rendon was a great play, but you should have probably.
And I understood that for sure. But I'm just like, they needed to get more pitching involved, because every single one of these pitchers were going to be gone. And it wasn't going to work out at all the longer you waited. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm just like, But
and a team that went and got the pitching that actually made it work was Washington. Remember Corbin? Everyone was looking, is Corbin worth the money?
I've said it, that Corbin, when he's a middle rotation guy, dude, he works. He plugs it in, because with Scherzer, Strasburg right there, and then adding Anibal Sanchez and a couple, they were willing to make that work. That's like no exception. They were willing to make that shit work. So
I wish the Mets would take some cues from the Nats, because I feel like the Nats have run that organization really well. They have young talent. Even when they let Harper go, they let Harper go to have Soto come up. So but here they were hit hard.
And that's the thing, is because if you think about it, with what Mike Rizzo has done, because all of this was all shaping formally for Ryan Zimmerman. That was what it all started with, because you had to think about when they had Dimitri Young, they had freaking Austin Kearns, they had all these freaking guys, and it wasn't until that second they drafted Steven Strasburg, things were changing. Things were changing for that organization, and then Bryce Harper comes along.
Bryce Harper came, right?
Then the 7-year contract with Jason Worth. Then
Worth wasn't even bad for them.
No, he wasn't. I mean, the bat was working. Then Michael Morse out of nowhere, freaking like he was hitting well in 2011,
and then
and then
signed Max Scherzer. Like that was one of the biggest regrets I have for the Yankees is that season when he was leaving the AL, they didn't go and get him, and the Nationals got him, and it paid dividends for them.
Oh, it paid great dividends for him, and that's why I'm like, how they were able to just do this was really just kind of work their rotation as long as they possibly could until they were able to land Scherzer, then still have Strasburg be healthy, because that was the ultimate thing, was they needed Scherzer to stay healthy. And then whatever they were going to do with the 3 through 5 hole, they were going to figure it out and then work the closing. I was so pissed the second that the A's lost Sean Doolittle, but he worked well in that bullpen. That's where I was like, damn it, man. But they worked it. And even when they had tried with Drew Storen at one point as their closer, and that didn't work, I still had some good hopes for him, but it was just then Blake Trinan I was so surprised of, because Trinan had that nasty freaking slider. Or he had that nasty splitter, I should say. That thing was freaking quick. But
he was another. I think that's one thing you could also say about the Athletics. They seem to always get these really good fill-in bullpen guys, which maybe it could be Trevor Rosenthal this year, but they always get these middle relief guys who are casted away. They turn him back into something. They ship him. I think they had Soria one year for a little bit of period of time. He was good. Trian was good for them. They had Doolittle, but they consistently run that gambit. They don't keep and sign a big time closer. They don't pay that money in that. Like Hendricks, I mean, if you think you were going to pay a closer, that would be a guy to pay because he's relatively young. He was really good last year. But they're
that's why I kept saying it, that if anything, throw Diekman in the 8th. Because I always said this, that when we saw it with Sean Doolittle, he worked the 8th inning perfectly. Like he was setting it up right there. That's how you should have it. Like look at some of these real good setup guys from the 8th. Tony Watson. There were a couple of real good left-handers that worked the 8th. And that's why I'm like, it worked, because honestly, 9th innings is meant for right-handers. It has to be overpowering fastballs, working sliders, changeups. That's what it was meant to be, was against pressure. But when they tried that with Doolittle in the closing, I was like, it's not going to work. Trust me, it's not, because it's too much that they have to bear with to really shut it down. I mean, yeah, Zach Britton is an exception.
And I think a perfect example of it too is Chapman. Because Chapman is great in the regular season. Chapman is a really solid guy.
The Cubs fucked him up. Bad.
We've had so many instances as a Cub and as a Yankee where we've seen him give up that home run in the 9th inning to let the next game go. You know, from the last game that the Astros played versus us, where Altuve had his little buzzer and smacks it out, to even with the Cubs where he was giving
Chapman smiling at the end of it.
It's just another case of those lefties being like, you know, I prefer my Mo because he at least would only give up a broken bat single to center field instead of a massive home run.
All right. God, yeah. All right, guys. We've been on way longer than we've been than I expected
tomorrow's
tonight.
Tomorrow's the big day.
Oh, Christmas.
No, it would have been Christmas if
Christmas, it's Hanukkah, it's Kwanzaa, it's all the holidays all in one. It's
going to be on the mound. Go watch a true Ace. Enjoy your victory.
Here we go,
baby.
We're getting the win tomorrow.
Everybody wearing their caps tomorrow. I'm hoping for it, because I'm like, yep, I got my A's cap. I've got my A's T-shirt of Yoenis Cespedes. Oh yeah.
Make sure you wear that Yankees chain underneath, so you have some good luck on you. You know.
Oh,
I might actually wear my Astros hat tomorrow.
And you know what? This made Hammer happy, because honestly, when I played T-ball at 5 years old, the first team I ever played for was the Mets, and they had the black jerseys. That was what was dope. Like that.
Did you hear what Pete Alonso did once he found out? He was like so ecstatic. And then
he accidentally leaked. He accidentally leaked out that they were doing the blackout Friday nights at Citi Field.
Yeah, and then Stroman goes, "I need to get the black jersey signed by DeGrom because he's like that legendary." I'm like, all right,
yeah, like legendary. It is work. Yeah, like dude, Ron Darling and freaking Al Leiter. Like, yeah, that. Oh God, yeah.
Mike Piazza.
Mike,
Yo,
that home run, man.
The very first Met jersey I got was a black Mike Piazza jersey when
Yeah.
I was 12
And you
years
know what?
old, and I still have the jersey to this day.
Yeah.
Wow. And you know what's funny about that was that ended when Jose Reyes and David Wright were oh man.
That see, I
That's the
don't
last
understand
time
the
you
Mets,
saw
though.
him.
Like how could you have such good uniforms for so long and just get rid of them? Like, how does that make sense?
Blame the coupons. I mean,
You know what's
Wilpons.
funny is that the A's had the black jerseys too. They had
they?
that black. Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
I've seen those.
Because that was the year when they had freaking Jack Cust. They had freaking who was it? Mark Ellis. Yep, Mark Ellis, Eric Chavez.
Chavez, my God, third baseman. I remember
Third
him.
baseman, man. I remember the year.
That was when they had Tejada.
Yep, they had Miguel Tejada. Yep,
that was the biggest disappointment of the shortstop class because you had Jeter, A-Rod, Nomar Garcia-Parra, and Tejada as that holy, four group.
Oh my God, that was probably the best shortstop group right there, man. And then honestly, Omar Vizquel, like he was playing really good defensively. Like that's probably the best defensive shortstop you'd see until Andrelton Simmons friggin' landed on this planet.
Damn, you guys got me ready to play MLB The Show now.
I got another. What today's? It's about to be the first. I got another
15 days.
15 days. I got early access. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to play it. I'm so excited.
They finally put Pedro Martinez in the game for the first time.
I saw that.
Finally,
that's crazy.
And you know what? I'd like to see how things run when it's on Xbox.
Oh yeah,
that's the first time now that's the first time, and I'm just like, dude. I had MLB 06 the show, and you had Pat Sloppy there.
Man.
But I know Hammer probably kept 07 because of David Wright right there.
That was my shit.
God.
But I used to have fun with that.
I used to have the World Series baseball, I think it was, with Jason Giambi on the cover.
Yep.
That was the one.
Triple play. Oh no. Triple play baseball, dude.
That was the shit.
I had the 2001 one, dude, when Mike Piazza. Oh my God. Yeah.
All right. We are going to roll out now because I officially have to. It's past my bedtime. Way past my bedtime. I got to do 16 hours tomorrow and still break all this shit down. So
while you're wearing the cabs and all that stuff.
So
while
thank
you're looking
you.
for the door signing.
Shut up. Thank you for everybody that came in tonight. Definitely most appreciated. I want to thank the talented Dirty Taco for coming on board. Fuck the Yankees.
America's team. That's why you see it.
And we're still waiting for him to join this club. We're pretty much like the modern day death row, man. You want come over, come to death row, bro, because you'll definitely have a lot of fun with this team. But that being said, opening day starts tomorrow. I can't be any more excited. And I want to thank everybody for coming in. Make sure to check out the links in the description, like, sub, and smash the fuck out of that bell. And continue to stay safe. Most importantly, wash your hands and your asses.
And most importantly, happy opening day tomorrow, guys.
Hey,
we
start
are
12 hours.
Yes.
Let's go.